नमस्ते सर्वांना. इथे आल्याबद्दल धन्यवाद. आणि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल बिग रेकग्निशन आपल्या सगळ्या GMG कडून. आणि सस्टेनेबिलिटी जो आपण ॲज अ एफर्ट जो रन करतोय त्याबद्दल मी थोडक्यात बोलणार आहे सुरुवातीला, आणि नंतर मग आपण पॅनल्सकडे जाऊया. आय एम नॉट ऑन द पॅनल, सो दॅट्स अ हॅपी थिंग. सो देर आर 8 panelists who are going to take us through various aspects of sustainability. Still, I would say something will still slip out and may not be covered. So whoever feels that, that person would be on the panel next year. So let me know if we missed anything. So let's do that. This is our project, right? Everybody feels we have to do something about it. What that something is, maybe hardly anybody knows, right? But if we all pull through, things will come out, right? एफर्ट आहे GMG मध्ये, एफर्ट तर आहेच, पण त्याच्या आधीपासून म्हणजे आपल्या म्हणजे आता मी सुरुवातीला हरिओम म्हटलं, त्यानंतर काही जणांनी कॉमेंट्स दिल्या की basically most sustainable religion on the entire planet, right? So we have to take a lot of things from it as well. Our environment around us, and also we take care of it by the nature of it, not somebody forces by an accord or global agreement or all that, right? So that's a greatness we all carry. I don't want to burden anybody by that thought because a little bit counts. So let's do that together. त्यामध्ये GMGचा काय पार्ट आहे, राईट? त्याबद्दल मी सांगणार थोडक्यामध्ये. बेसिकली काय झालं की फर्स्ट कन्व्हेन्शन happened last year, right? Where we had kind of a agenda setting पासून सगळ्याच गोष्टी त्यावेळी डिस्कस केल्या गेल्या, राईट? सो व्हॉट काइंड ऑफ ब्रेकआउट रूम्स वी नीड टू हॅव, अँड सस्टेनेबिलिटी केम टू एव्हरीबडीज माइंड, whoever is on the GMG board and also whoever contribute to the cause, right? So the GMG itself came into being like 8 years before, started with 2 books. But before that, there is a story which Anandji narrates very well, that he knew about a person getting vice president position in Boeing, Mr. Dinesh Keskar, and then he thought about why I don't know about this person before it comes to the news, and he becomes a vice president. So then he approached him, and then things started, and first of all they got 35 profiles, and then it became a book for launch. Dr. Raghunath Mashelkarji and everybody came there 8 years before. 1 ऑगस्टला ते केलं होतं. पुढच्या वर्षी पुन्हा 1 ऑगस्टपर्यंत आणखीन 50 प्रोफाईलचं दुसरं बुक तयार झालं, आणि त्यापासून मग नंतर मध्ये कोविड हिट झाला आपल्या सगळ्यांना. सो त्यामध्ये डिजिटल प्रेझेन्स आपला खूप वाढला. दॅट वॉज अ पॉझिटिव्ह साईड टू इट. आणि नंतर मग असं झालं की आता आपल्याला कॉन्फरन्सही करायला हवी, आणि मग त्यामध्ये सस्टेनेबिलिटीचा जेव्हा विषय आला तेव्हा आपण अक्षरशः म्हणजे आपल्या नेटवर्कमध्ये जे कोणी लोक होती त्या सगळ्यांना आपण अप्रोच केलं. सो व्हॉट वी कम थ्रू दॅट इज बेसिकली वी गॉट 9 panelists at that time in the first year itself, which was like last year's conference. And before that we had kind of a 4 months run up to the conference. This time we had very short time. But we were already connected, so it was a little bit easier for me to bring right people on the panel. आणि खूप जणांनी हेल्प केली, सो त्याकडे मी येतो. पण फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल पहिलं जेव्हा पॅनल झालं तेव्हाचं जे डिस्कशन आहे, कदाचित डॉक्टर तारेंद्र, प्रसाद, हेमंतजी, who pitched in last moment. Somebody who was supposed to be on that panel got ill the earlier night, and he filled that gap very well. So अशा प्रकारची कॅमेरेडरी आहे, आणि त्यामुळे हा ग्रुप असा रन होतोय. सो बेसिकली काय झालं की मागच्या वर्षाच्या कॉन्फरन्स नंतर खूप सारे फीडबॅक्स आपल्याला महिन्यात 2 महिन्यातच मिळाले, राईट? अँड देन वी स्टार्टेड अ न्यू ग्रुप विदिन GMG कॉल्ड GMG सस्टेनेबिलिटी. अँड ओव्हर द टाइम नाउ वी आर लाईक 135 members in that group, and people are actively contributing. So what we have been doing, I think Prasad will tell more about that at the end of the panels. But I will touch upon one important thing, that people want to contribute, and there is no self here. Entire selfish thing is for the planet. That's how I can put it. And the second best narration to that is Maharashtra and India for that matter. So this is very important, right? What that drives us, right? We are not paid for it. We never think about that as well. But it's us who drive this, right? So आता आपल्यामध्ये म्हणजे खरं तर स्टॉलवर्ड्स लोक आहेत. म्हणजे आज जे तुम्ही 8 पॅनलिस्ट जे बघाल, 4 आणि 4 असे आपण 2 पॅनल मध्ये डिवाइड केले आहेत आजच्या गोष्टी. सो बेसिकली जेव्हा ते पहिलं पॅनल झालं तेव्हा आपल्याकडे अक्षरशः म्हणजे जगभरातून लोक खरोखर रिप्रेझेंट करणारी होती. म्हणजे कुणीतरी कोपनहेगनमधून होते, कुणी आपल्याला तेव्हा सिंगापूरमधून शैलेश आला होता, नंतर महाराष्ट्रातून तर GMG आणि बरेच जण होते, प्रसाद होता, सगळेजण होते. आणि नरेंद्रजी who represents academia as well as remote sensing and all that, he also contributed. So I'm taking few names who come to my mind directly, but there were 9 people. So नंतर मग आपण त्याचा सस्टेनिया नावाचा एक ग्रुप बनवला. डॉक्टर विजय जोशींनी आपल्याला तेव्हा कीनोट ॲड्रेस दिला होता. सो त्यावेळी म्हणजे सस्टेनिया नेमकं काय आहे, आणि म्हणजे सस्टेनिया म्हणजे त्यांनी सस्टेनेबिलिटी इन दिस मिलेनिया असं त्यांनी ते नवीन टर्म कॉइन केली होती, जी आपण आत्ताही गुगल ग्रुप म्हणून रन करतो. तर त्यामध्ये काही ॲक्टिव्हिटी पुढे करण्यासारख्या आहेत वगैरे वगैरे. पण महत्त्वाची सगळ्यात गोष्ट ही आहे की पुढच्या वर्षाचा आपल्याला एक अजेंडा सेट करायचा आहे, जो आजच्या पॅनल डिस्कशन्स नंतर आपण करू. आणि त्यामध्ये ॲक्टिव्हिटी ऑन ग्राउंड प्लस आपल्याला अवेअरनेस सेशन्स रन करणं, इथपासून ते अगदी यूट्यूब चॅनल आपला असण्यापर्यंत अशा बऱ्याच साऱ्या आयडियाज लोकांच्या डोक्यामध्ये आहेत. त्या ऑपरेशनलाइज करायला एफर्ट लागतो आणि वेळही द्यायला लागतो. सो ते आपण सगळे देऊ आणि आपण त्यातून पुढे जाऊ, राईट. पण देन आय डोंट हॅव टू टॉक अबाउट माय सेल्फ बिकॉज आय मे बी द मोस्ट ऑड पर्सन टू लीड सस्टेनेबिलिटी इन GMG. But somehow maybe Anandji thought about it, saying that I come from Konkan, so I must be caring about nature, and that's for sure true. But not by my profession. It doesn't look like I'm a sustainability guy. So I'm an oil and gas national oil company chief economist. So you can see what is happening, right? So basically, I don't want to color my views, but at the same time, I just wanted to push that anecdote that this is not easy. Sustainability finance is not easy. If it was easy, people would have adopted by the announcement of it. It is not happening. If we go to our Indian context, we are at least not like China. We do attend conferences. We do attend climate accords. We do sign up on those. But then we bring our reality check, right? We don't commit to say 2050. We might do it by 2070. Why? Because there is already a urge, and governance is not easy thing, right? Keep the media politics aside, but doing things for people is really the government's job, right? So at that time, we still have many people bring out of poverty, and then there is always a debate: is it a just transition or not? And that I represent. I am into energy affordability, and sustainability angle to that is a cost on that energy, right? At the same time, when it must have come through with that interview in the morning today, that biofuels, renewables, they're all helping the industry as well, right? Even you name it, even the fossils, right? So fossils are limited, and if we have to sustain the entire energy mix, then more and more renewables have to be done. More and more biofuels have to come. More wind and solar harnessing has to happen, right? So with that angle, the limited resources will last for longer. That is how the oil companies see this, right? So we'll last longer, so the industry also will remain sustainable. There is nothing better than extracting energy from the ground, right? When it comes to the money part, right? But then at the same time, when you start thinking about investing and caring for the next generations, this is very, very important. Adaptability is growing, but we are not fully there. I know it very closely, and we'll keep this in mind that we have got poverty as a first thing to tackle. And when we do that, energy affordability, energy availability, energy security, all are important. electrification of our villages happened over last few years, right? The last leg of it, and it was a big leg which was missing, right? So that is what is happening. So we are all aware of this, and I think this is the right time to hand it over to the panels. I will invite the first panel moderator, but before that, I will also talk about the second panel, which will be run by Dr. Rahul, and then we will talk about Maharashtra, its economy, how things are changing in India, how we are leading the effort globally, and how the International Solar Alliance and now the battery storages and all that is happening. So I don't want to steal the thunder from second panel. And also the first panel will be run by Dr. Preet Gule. He comes from Australia. So we also have a really international panel this time, right from down under to the North America, and between Middle East, like myself, India, and everybody represented, right? So let's go over to that. And as I've said, again, my plea is this, that if you feel something is missing in the sustainability discussion, you are most welcome to raise your hand and raise a question so that we can note down that. And you are welcome to join the group as well, 130, 135 people which we have. And this is going to grow, and it cuts across entire industry, be it AI or real estate or investments or decarbonization, right? So it cuts across everything. So what we talk about is entire industry set. So thank you for that, and this is a time for me to hand it over to Dr. Pritham. Grand welcome, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Samir.
Sure.
You have been very wonderful, and it's not an easy job to sustain in the sustainability area, and you have been doing that very successfully, so many thanks to you. My name is Dr. Pritham Ghoble. I work in a pharmaceutical manufacturing company, also involved in entrepreneurial activity that we are going to soon announce, again in the same area. I'm very finding myself lucky when Samirji asked me to moderate this session, because I'm definitely very sure that this is going to be very value-added session. You all know all the speakers have already established themselves in the business as well as their individual fields. So I'm trying to make sure that the structure is followed, as Samirji said. Just one request, that we will have question and answer sessions, but at the end of the session, so that we make sure that we finish in time and also cover all the topics that we have already discovered. I invite all the panelists. Kedar, please join us. Varmanji, please. Shailesh. Thank you very much. So what we are going to start from the introduction session is, we will have first round of introduction, and then we will kick off the panel discussions. So to extreme left of my position, Kedar Soman. Please welcome Kedar Soman. Kedar is an engineer, passed out from Somaya, and he has been working in the industry for 25 years, very much seasoned entrepreneur, and working in the manufacturing area as well as CAD/CAM and the sustainable technology space. He co-founded various companies and successfully led them. He was part of the entrepreneurial entity, also served as the CTO of that particular company, and then significantly exited from that role a year ago. He also has started in the electric mobility area. He's now currently back in US. He was in India for 4 years, did that wonderful job out there. So once again, welcome Kedar. To his right is Mr. Balwant Joshi. He's founder and managing director of Idam Infrastructure Advisory Private Limited. He's also director on boards of Enfregi Solutions and Horus Lending Solutions. He has started Origin Renewables, made it very successful in the area of solar rooftop services, and then successfully exited that business in 2020. Balwant is also co-founder, founder, member of and secretary of Indian Renewable Energy Federation. And apart from all the things that he's known for, what strikes me most is his involvement in FIRST. So I'll only mention one of them, that he's involved in the first feed-in tariff determination for wind, solar, and biomass technologies, which is something which is very great achievement. So thanks, Balwant, for joining this panel. Welcome again. And we have, to my left, Mr. Shailesh Vaidya. Shailesh is co-founder and CEO of Scorpius Truckers. Very much in the industry for more than 30 years, very successful entrepreneur. It's been a very up and downhill, uphill journey, but very successful one. He's working in the technology space and has experience in the product development in the field of metallurgy and image processing and motion control. He's also successfully exited the ventures involving .com and CNC space. At Scorpius, he is more involved in the motion control, metallurgy, and to develop company's solar tracker portfolio. So, welcome, Shailesh. With this, I officially kick off the panel one discussions. Kedar, so starting from you, we all know how important it is in terms of sustainability to understand, because it's such a broad term. It means different things to different people. To me, I come from pharma manufacturing background, so sustainability is all about reducing the energy consumption and getting rid of the hazardous reactions, and the safety is of importance. What is that contribution by the transportation sector, especially in the global emissions, and how it is trending right now? So can you shed some light on that area, please?
Sure, yes, thank you. Can everybody hear me? Is this okay? Okay. So if you take the data that is available by reputed research bodies like IEEE or something, there has been some consistency, whether it is a developed country or a developing country, that is the emissions share that comes from the transportation industry is somewhere in 30 to 40% for most of the countries. And it varies depending on if there are recession times, it's a little bit more, or vice versa, and what that country is doing primarily, whether it is agricultural, mining, or whatever. Other than transportation, some main contributors to emissions, some industries are like the construction industry, and especially cement. When you have to do a dehydration and then you have to get the moisture content down to very, very low, right? That's extremely energy intensive process. And the same way there is metallurgy, like iron, that metal industry, iron melting, that takes tremendous amount of it. And also now it recently coming up with AI and data centers, they are energy hogs. Over the course of time, while the other industries have either stayed same or to some extent increased their shares in global emissions, transportation has been either steady or is going down. And to a large extent, that is where we think that electric vehicles, and they are starting to make impact now. However, for several last years or decades, energy efficiency in vehicles, that has been a key contributor to the reduction in emissions by transportation. And there is a lot of data available. Actually, even in the United States, it's trending down, and the number of petrol pumps in the United States has gone down from 140,000 at the beginning of in 2001 to 120,000 by 2020 or something. So that shows the whole consumption has gone down and business has become difficult. So that is the overall energy trend we see. However, if we have to reach the climate targets set by United Nations, 1.5 degrees Celsius, pretty recent, soon, or 3 degrees Celsius limit in a few decades from now, then that emissions coming from transportation sectors have to go down very sharply.
Right. So this puts a lot of pressure on the efforts and the new technologies development for sure. And it's not a straightforward and easy answer. And we have to put a lot of investments also to get those benefits. Do you have any insights? What new technologies probably that we would look at, or what are the trends that are happening not only in Maharashtra or India but also considering the entire global scope for sustainability?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you, typically when it comes to technology for transportation, one is the technology that goes in actually transportation, that is the drivetrains and vehicles of different form factors. That is one area we can think about. The second area is actually energy, the energy that drives transportation, right? So coming to the first part, which is the area which is related more to the fuels that are being consumed or the drivetrains part, one of the leading technologies that is at the forefront right now is battery-driven electric vehicles. And battery-driven electric vehicles, they definitely make a huge dent because the motors themselves are immensely energy efficient compared to internal combustion engine. Even the best internal combustion engines in the world, that's like Toyota, they have legendary efficiency drives. They are still somewhere in the ballpark of like 20 to 30% overall efficiency. And it's a tank to wheel efficiency, that's what we call. But in case of motors, that equivalent number for tank to wheel efficiency is somewhere above 85% for a good quality motor. So almost all that energy is getting converted, and that is making a big difference. Now for energy storage to run the motors, right, then that's where the batteries come in. And right now we have lithium-ion battery, that is the most prevalent technology that is going on. However, there are one or two more interesting technologies like a lithium sulfur battery or lithium air battery that are showing a lot of promise. And also hydrogen. So the fuel cell plus hydrogen tank, that combination is actually what replaces the battery. After the fuel cell and hydrogen, you are anyway making electricity and you will run the motor on that. So that part of the electric vehicle stays same. That comes to the actual drivetrain or efficiency technology. And then as far as generation is considered, for renewable energy, we are seeing not only the solar costs are dropping drastically. And if anyone has interest, then I recommend you to read a book called Solar Trillions by Tony Seba. I find that very interesting book. So that gives a good picture into the competition of energy sources and what will be the winner source. But recently, I think there is a lot of activity going on even in nuclear, because whatever is needed as a base load, the renewable energies generation goes up and down. When there is sun, you get energy. When there isn't, you don't get it. But to run a base load nuclear energy, that is showing a lot of promise, especially miniaturized reactors. And there is always this dream, which people have been joking that it is always 20 years away, the nuclear fusion. But looks like there have been some interesting progress recently, and there are more experts here who can talk about it. But if nuclear fusion is generalized, it becomes reality, then it can be a revolution.
Right. I have read about the recent Chinese invention building a small battery having fusion reaction. So yeah, that is already a reality now. Balwanji, you have got a lot of experience in the sustainability area. You have successfully managed different businesses. What is your overview of the current status of sustainability efforts in Maharashtra and also in the entire Indian context when we look at the India as a developing market for the EVs and the sustainabilities as well, but especially for the sustainability perspective? What's your take on that?
Thanks, Pritamji. Sustainability is a vast subject, and what I think we should do is that we should just restrict to the sustainable energy, and sustainable energy in India and sustainable energy in Maharashtra. So first, let me talk about the sustainable energy in India and the kind of targets that we have, and where do we stand vis-a-vis those targets, and what those targets means in terms of the overall objective of the net zero. So when we talk about a sustainable energy, as you may be knowing, when in 2015, the then Prime Minister, he's still the Prime Minister Modi, announced a target of 175 gigawatt for the renewable energy by 2022. And at that time, the target that was then existing was a 20,000 megawatt for solar by 2022, which was increased to 100,000 megawatt of solar by 2022. So it was five-fold increase. And everyone felt that we will never be able to achieve that target, and we will be way off that particular target. What we see today in 2022, despite COVID, we were in excess of 60,000 megawatt of solar, and overall 120,000 megawatt of renewable energy. Certainly we are off close to about 40 gigawatt or 40,000 megawatt of solar, and the primary reason for that was the rooftop solar. Rooftop solar as a category completely, I would say failed, but was a short on meeting its own target. And of course there was some issues in terms of wind target. What we see today is that subsequently the government has announced the net zero by 2070, an interim target of 500 gigawatt by 2030, and also 50% of the generation capacity to come from the non-fossil sources. As against that, what is the kind of achievement today? Today, the overall capacity in the country is somewhere in the region of 430 gigawatt, and out of that 193, 194 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel capacity that exists. So we are already more than 40% of the total capacity that exists. Whether we would be able to achieve target of 50%, I don't think there is any doubt that we will be able to achieve target of the 50% of the capacity of non-fossil fuel in India's energy mix, electricity mix, not energy mix. Whether we would be able to achieve 500 gigawatt target, that is the second target, I think there is a bit of a challenge, and I think that's where people like us would come in. We need to strengthen, we need to kind of enable India and Maharashtra to be able to achieve those targets. Having said that, I think the bigger issue over here that is being discussed in India and in the context of India is that whether the 500 gigawatt of renewable energy is a sufficient energy to be able to meet India's energy requirements. And I think there is certainly a strong question mark, and we may still need some other capacity, fossil fuel capacity or a nuclear fuel capacity that will have to come to be able to meet the requirements. If we see today in terms of India and how do we see India progressing on its sustainability targets and then Maharashtra progressing on the sustainability targets. Till yesterday, or I would say till in the month of June, we always used to talk Maharashtra is the single largest state in terms of the electricity consumption and maximum demand. Okay, most of you will be surprised to know which is the single largest state today. Can anyone guess?
UP.
Yeah, right. It's Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh has become the first state to exceed demand of 30,000 megawatt by at instantaneous demand. So the entire target, the entire perspective is changing. The energy mix, sales mix that exists in Maharashtra versus sales mix that is there in UP is a lot different. And we need to target the country as a whole. We need to have our priorities set right to be able to achieve the target. Coming to Maharashtra, we are nowhere, unfortunate fact. Okay, even today, more than 80% consumption is coming from fossil sources in Maharashtra. And remaining 20% is all other sources put together. That is nuclear, hydro, biomass, imports, and then wind and solar. Wind and solar put together is, wind, solar plus hydro put together is somewhere in the region of 12-13%. And which is unfortunate and a little bit of a sad situation for a progressing state like Maharashtra. A lot of things that need to be done on all fronts, policy front, project development front, there is a lot of requirements or that lot of changes that are required even on the finance side. So this is a kind of a situation in Maharashtra. We have got a long way to go ahead in terms of achieving our own sustainability targets. I would say even our own sustainability targets in line with our national targets. So I think I will stop over here, but we'll come back again.
I mean, there's just a follow-up question, which I don't want to dilute at this stage, but we already know that there is a gap in both the areas, whether it's fossil fuels or even the total energy demands that we are looking at. Definitely, as a gap, then we need to have certain plan in place. We need to make investment. Do you reckon that there are any changes in terms of the investment patterns that are happening in Maharashtra right now, or it's still not enough for us?
Okay, little difficult question to respond to because this is a little over a period of time. But what we see, we work very closely with the government of Maharashtra, and we see over last 6-8 months a change in attitude towards capacity addition, and a lot of efforts being done. In fact, the government of Maharashtra had launched very ambitious scheme, and my company IDAM was involved in helping government implement it. And that was for the solarization of the agricultural feeders. And it started with 3,000 megawatt of the capacity addition target, but eventually landed up awarding 9,000 megawatt of solar capacity. And that has been done in last 6 months. And another 3,000 megawatt is getting awarded. So what we see, and there is one more project that is being planned by the government of Maharashtra, about 5,000 megawatt further solar capacity addition. So at least what we see from the government of Maharashtra's point of view is that there are efforts to kind of promote solar energy or a procurement of power from the solar energy projects in the state. Whether that would be sufficient or not, how to what extent it will be able to swing the energy mix, because at the end of the day, it's just not a point in getting the tenders, getting the letter of awards, but actually projects have to come. So that is something that I think we will have to see. But we certainly see a shift away from investing into thermal, into sustainable energy in the form of solar and wind.
Thank you very much. Because the reason for asking this particular question is because when there is a shortage of solutions available out there, that's where our responsibility grows even more. And that is where probably we need to pitch in as professionals and do something, our bit of things, and make sure that we help Maharashtra to get those results. You spoke about the solar energy and the efforts, and Shailesh, nobody better can talk about solar energy and the panels. So my question is how solar panels have evolved over the years in terms of technology. There's a lot of technology being brought in from China as well, but we have very promising young minds also who can work on those areas. And as I said, because it was a failure doesn't mean that we should not touch that and again not have a go at it. So I think there's a lot of future out there, but what is your opinion about the evolvement of technology in solar panels?
Thanks. So I think solar panel technology has evolved very slowly, in fact. Since 2012 to now, the incremental gain in efficiency has been ridiculously slow. It's not because nobody is working on it, it's just that there's a physical limitation to how much silicon can give you. So the panels are now generating what, 19%, 20% efficiency. In 2012 they were 14% efficient. So you can't go much beyond that now unless we change the type of panel which we use. So earlier there used to be a technology which made use of visible sunlight, ultraviolet and infrared. That's called the triple junction photovoltaic cell. That technology completely was phased out because China dropped the module prices suddenly in 2012. They used to be around $1.5 per watt peak. They dropped down 50 cents in 2012. So the adoption of that technology, the triple junction technology used in space typically. If you see a satellite which has got solar panels on its arms, that uses the triple junction solar cells. So that technology is pretty promising. It's got a cell efficiency of, as of today, 52%, which is unheard of in regular panels. But that won't be adopted because it's too pricey right now. Unless there is some tenders or somebody who promotes that. So like solar thermal gets occasional 500 megawatt tender here and there sometimes. If somebody actually promotes CPV very actively, then we can see a good efficiency coming in. But otherwise, I don't see something radically different happening in regular PV panels. The efficiency of the whole solar plant is increased by supporting technologies like better inverters, use of trackers, using cleaning robots to reduce soiling losses, etc. in the plant. But solar panels, maybe next year there will be 1% more increase. That's about it.
Right. I mean, in terms of the pricing pressures that we have from China, so that also puts a lot of restrictions on how much manufacturing you can do out of Maharashtra or India, for that matter. However, my experience in Australia, because Australian households are under tremendous pressure in terms of energy prices, and that's where solar energy is very useful. Obviously, the governments also spend a lot of grants into that area, so government does a lot of things. I think, as you rightly said, if there is no jump in terms of the technology upgradation. Probably we need to look at something else just for the time being, but not giving up on solar energy space. So do you have any outlook in that area where what we can look at as alternative effort in terms of gaining those things?
So one very interesting example I'll give you. Like you said, I sold my company last year to a big company in India. It's a listed entity, and they won a government tender in Leh Ladakh. Now, like most of Australia, Leh Ladakh also doesn't have any solar distribution. It doesn't have transmission lines or anything. So this tender was very interesting because this made this company. This company now has to set up a 0.5 megawatt solar plant. It has to use that electricity to power up a green hydrogen facility. This company also has to supply a green hydrogen bus, which will be used by locals. So it's an end-to-end solution based on renewable energy. It's not just supplying a green hydrogen bus or just supplying hydrogen. So they have to generate hydrogen using solar and also be in charge of last mile local transport. So if such kind of holistic solutions are done, I think it'll make more sense for faraway places which are not connected to the grid.
Right, yeah. Kedar, coming back to you, I'm taking discussions a little bit towards the environment and the monsoon patterns and how it affects the sustainability. Can you discuss in brief how these monsoon patterns in India especially, and how does it affect the sustainability efforts?
Sure, yeah. As we all know, still even today, large amount of Indian agriculture is monsoon based. Monsoon affects immensely. The moment there is these predictions, then immediately there is effect on all the commodity prices and everything. Now the general knowledge that pretty much everyone who is studying global warming and climate change deeply understands that as the temperature goes up, the amount of moisture content in the air is going to go up, and then every time there is a temperature fluctuation, then you'll see rain. So some of the models suggest that with every approximately 1 degree Fahrenheit also a temperature rise, which is a little I want to say a little more than half a degree Celsius, about half degree Celsius, you will see 5% increase in monsoon rainfall. Now, generally, if we are in India, then just a little more monsoon just sounds maybe, that may not be a bad thing, but the big problem is that can be very unpredictable. So if you have a lot of rain, but if it rains like first 5 days of monsoon and last 5 days of monsoon, it rains heavily and nothing rains in between, then it's a complete disaster for agriculture. So not only the amount of monsoon is important, but also the pattern of monsoon, that is also important. And that is where pattern is supposed to be a big challenge. In fact, I was reading some literature some days back, and it talked about how about 8,000 or so years back, there was a mini ice age. And because of that, there was a lot of snow in Himalayan mountains. So for thousands of years, a lot of rivers in India had regular 12-month water, because in summer it used to be the ice melting, and in monsoon it used to be like pretty good monsoon, and that gave rise to India being Sujalam Sufalam, and Sohnacha Dura Par Maradit Manai. So a lot of wealth was generated. And so that is very critical. That is supposed to be the impact, and it's overall the impact is not. People are generally not considering that it will be a desirable impact. It will help us something. There are a lot of technologies that are being developed and exploited in the direction of how can we tackle that, and how can we minimize that impact, and how can we still try to save our agriculture as much as we can. So one of them is, of course, a lot of satellites roaming around with the advanced technology, advanced radars, advanced scanners, and in making the best weather guesses, and warning farmers in advance, and trying to help them to plan their agricultural operations. So that is one area where we are seeing a lot of improvements in technology, and especially with recent developments or advancements in AI and everything, we will hopefully see that getting better. However, that has limitations. If there is going to be a rainfall, then no matter, even if you tell the farmer, there is not a whole lot they can do if the crop is ready. And then there is, of course, water management. So, like for flooding, there is only so much you can do, but if there isn't monsoon, then water management, that involves drip irrigation, that involves recycling, that involves crops that are resistant to this temperature and water availability fluctuations. And there is a lot of collaboration or tie-ups are happening with Israel. Israel, as you know, is, even though it's in desert, it's one of the water surplus country. That means the amount of water they are getting out of, from the wells is less than the amount of water they are putting in. So their water levels are improving, and they have made immense advancements in using and managing water. So learning a lot from them. These water management technologies that will also help a lot.
Yeah. Climate change and also the greenhouse gases and its effects. You have specialization in automotive industry. So all these changes, obviously, there needs to be an adaptation to the changes. What are those adaptations that are being undertaken in automotive industry, and how they are helpful for the sustainability point of view?
So some of the adaptation, of course, when we talked about was efficiency improvement and how to make the vehicles more and more efficient, whether it is just like improvements in fuel injection in an internal combustion engine, or is it technologies like hybrid or purely electric, or working on a mix of fuels, and some of that may be ethanol or blended fuel. So on the fuel side, the automobile industry is adopting. And if anyone, this is something I really, anyone who is interested in the policy space or efficiency space, it's a very interesting case study of how to do things right about the fuel efficiency development, fuel efficiency standards in the United States, how they were developed and implemented. They started way back after the oil shock that happened in mid-70s in the United States, and then the Sierra Club and several, right as well as left side organizations and NGOs, they all came together. They put this framework in, and it gives the manufacturers like 10 or 20 years down the line what is the efficiency of the vehicles that they need to, what needs to be the efficiency of the vehicles they are producing. And for manufacturing industry, having that long-term outlook is critical, because manufacturing, nobody puts a factory to make money in like 5 years, like you are looking at 10 years, 15 years. So having that worked great. So automotive industry is adopting that way of efficiency. And then there are some really interesting ways the industry is evolving. One of them is vehicles with the different form factors, as well as vehicles that, like rideshare. Rideshare allows a vehicle to be used, a few vehicles to be used a lot more, and then a few vehicles get used less. Typically, the rideshare vehicles that run in Uber or Lyft, they run like 5 to 10 times more per day than a personal usage vehicle runs. So when one of those rideshare vehicles becomes electric, it's equivalent to 5 or 10 personal usage cars becoming electric. And that change we already see. That most of those vehicles have shifted to rideshare. Most of the rideshare vehicles have shifted to either hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or pure electric. So evolution of rideshare. Also interestingly, because of the electrical powertrain, it allows you to develop vehicles with different form factors, which was not possible with internal combustion engine. For example, in internal combustion engine, you have to have a fuel line running all the way from your petrol tank to your vehicle, and also the air line, because that's where the mixture is happening, and then you have to have an exhaust line running, right? In electric vehicle, you can put a battery anywhere and you can put a motor anywhere. And as long as they're connected by a metal wire, it doesn't matter. That allows you a lot more freedom, and the size, shapes of motors, and their torque to weight ratio, all those things, there's a wide variability. So typically micro-mobility vehicles, like electric bicycles or these kick scooters, they are much more common with electric technology. Making them with petrol technology would not have been a very good solution. So vehicles with different form factors is also a very interesting way automobile industry is adopting and evolving to tackle this challenge.
Yeah, quite rightly. Balwantji, this makes a very valid question in my mind is, there's a lot to do from the private sector as well, because we see lots of gaps. And it's not appropriate every time we look up to the governments. Yes, they do their job in terms of administration, but as a private sector, as Kedar mentioned, Uber ride shares. So the private sector also makes significant contributions to make things sustainable and have a significant impact. What you have seen from your experience in your own field, that how private sector can actually contribute in such a way, and what are your opinions or your experiences, what you can share with us?
Yeah, thanks. I think what we see in the energy sector over the last one and a half decade is a massive shift in changing ownership. Earlier, a lot of ownership of the generating assets, transmission assets, used to be with the public sector. So like Mahagencos or NTPCs or SJVLs. So those were the entities, those were kind of building up these massive power stations, owning, operating and supplying electricity to the distribution companies or consumers. What we have seen in the last decade or so is that the ownership has shifted. In terms of, if you see the new generation assets, more than 80% ownership is with the private sector. So private sector is already doing its own job in terms of the bringing in the investments in the sector. What is needed is that a more policy stability, more regulatory stability that the government and the regulatory institutions that need to bring in. And I think that is where the lot of work that needs to happen. In my view, as far as the private sector participation is concerned, ownership is concerned, it is going to increase only. What we are going to see is that all these companies which were earlier generating companies are more or less becoming a trading companies, like in terms of whether it's NTPC doing through NVVNL or SJVNL doing through their trading arms or through SECI. What now needs to happen from the solar and wind, I think it is a kind of a more or less set game in terms of the new tenders, capacity will keep coming. What we need is a lot of innovation now. Innovation that is happening in terms of the tendering ways. Innovation in terms of how the risk is being shared between the generator and the procurer. How the risk is being shared between how the risk is being passed on to the financier, or how the financier is perceiving the risk and taking care of that particular risk. I think these are the areas where we need to change. We already talk about, with a large quantum of solar coming in. In California, we talk about a duck curve, very famous term which was called duck curve. Like, when the solar goes down and your demand keeps increasing, what you need is a significant ramping capacity to come up. The batteries would fill in some of that particular space and provide the ramping. But how do you really contract batteries? How do you really contract storage? How do you really contract in terms of RE-RTC? Like in India, we talk about a round-the-clock power, RTC power. Is RTC power really the solution? What risks are coming over because of RTC? People think RTC is a kind of a panacea, or but it's not. It's actually, if you put up a lot of RTC tenders, there are going to be a lot of challenges in terms of the system operations will come in. So these are the issues now that are coming up, and the regulators and policymakers have to come in to bring in the policy certainty, risk management, proper risk management between the procurer and the generator, so that private sector continues to play its role of bringing in finance and building the power stations and run them efficiently.
Absolutely. I mean, you talked about innovation, and I see there is a strong link between the title of this particular panel, the opportunities. And we got a really wonderful mix out here. You got young entrepreneurs here, we got young students, we got youth fest going on, we got experienced professionals out here. We got everything, and there is no dearth of talent back in Maharashtra or say India. What new opportunities, maybe 2 or 3, whatever comes to your mind, Balwanji, is what you would like to suggest to the young entrepreneurs to look at? And probably they are going to be the future in next 20 years to build those new technologies. So how can we hand over those responsibilities, but at the same time make sure that we hold the hands as well?
Okay. So, when we talk about a clean energy, there are clearly two major winners, and which are kind of known. That is, one is a solar, another is wind, right? But the third major technology that is required is a battery storage. Rahul is going to talk about it in the next session. He is going to chair, and he is a stalwart in that particular. So I don't want to talk about the technology. What I want to talk about business models, right? How do you really look at the business models to integrate battery into the system? We talk about the RE-RTC, I just talked about, which is one way of integrating battery storage into the system. But RE-RTC has not been very successful in terms of integrating battery. We need a different kind of business models. One business model could be compulsory storage along with the generating station. The second business model could be standalone battery storage, which is still a very risky if it is not procured on a what I would say fixed charges basis. If it is procured on a fixed charge basis, then it is straightforward. There is no trade-off over there. But what we need is that new technologies which would be at a distribution end. How do you really do the aggregation of those batteries? How do you really put up the batteries along with the rooftop solar? How the distribution companies would kind of control those batteries. So these are the kind of immediate opportunities in my view in the clean energy. That is next couple of years I am talking about. The moving forward, say from 3 to 5 years period of time, we need to have a new technologies to come in, something like small wind, which still doesn't exist in a commercial manner. We need those technologies. We need different ways of dealing with the small wind, because without that we won't be able to have full portfolio of energy technologies. Similarly, waste to energy, disaggregated kind of a technology. We have tried, my company have tried small 15 kilowatt, 20 kilowatt behind the meter waste to energy plants is something that, but those are not right now very efficient. We can look at some kind of efficiency over there. Moving forward 3 to 5 years again, there would be a lot of requirement to have DAR aggregator technologies, demand response technologies, microgrid technologies, wherein the technology startups could come in and look at developing the new technologies. And finally, I think everyone who's talking about is what is called V2G. So V2G or P2X is something like that, that is something that we should look forward to in next phase of technology evolution.
Thank you very much. Shailesh, next question comes to you. When you look at your business models that you have successfully established and exited, obviously there have been a lot of experiences which have changed over the years, considering the changes happening in the trends that are going on in the market. Moving towards the net zero efficiency or the targets, what do you think that, considering all the limitations that you mentioned already, that there's a lot of limitation in terms of solar energy, capacity, improvement and all those things, what are those typical areas that we can actually concentrate and focus upon based on your experience?
So I think the way in which manufacturing happens needs to change if we are to go towards net zero. I'll give you an example. One of my friends called Pratyush in India recently published a paper on the steel industry going net zero in India. And as per that paper, if the steel industry, which uses a lot of heat to melt steel and process it, if they move to electric furnaces, and if all the electric furnaces in India were to make steel, then we would require 300,000 megawatts just to make that happen. And that's over and above what is happening or what is government projecting right now. And that's a big ask for a country. I mean, a lot of things have to happen, policy, finance, etc. So whatever is happening in the solar technology will continue to happen at its fast or slow pace, but the manufacturing style has to change also. We can't use the same conventional machines, same conventional technologies and then say, give us cheap power and give us free power. That won't happen. Unless the manufacturing industry changes what it's doing and goes towards technologies which use solar more. That will enable net zero to happen much faster.
So again, coming back to the same panel topic is, there would be opportunities in your area of expertise, and what should be those young entrepreneurs should be looking at in terms of making career for these spaces that you talked about, especially in terms of the solar energy or the Scorpius tracker that you are specialized in dealing with? What sort of expectations you would have from the young entrepreneurs?
So young engineers need to be fearless, which unfortunately they are not nowadays. They're too scared, they have too many reservations and questions in mind. They don't like to jump into anywhere. So they have to learn to jump. Without jumping, nothing will happen. They'll end up doing whatever the other 500,000 people are doing, which is trying to wait for the next opportunity to fall in their lap. In solar, there are a lot of opportunities. Most of them are in regular construction of plants. Innovation can be done, very frankly, by maybe 0.5% of all the engineers there, because that requires a different mindset. It can't be taught. There are no 3 steps for innovation. You just have to learn, you have to jump, and you have to be able to make mistakes. People are very scared of making mistakes. Unless that is done, there's no innovation happening. In India, mistakes are not tolerated, unfortunately. So you should go into a place where mistakes are tolerated.
I think one of my areas of interest always been, I'm an inorganic chemist when I did my post-graduation, so lots of metals to play around. And when we talk about the EV space or any storage batteries, especially in any areas of transportation, I mean, this question is open for anyone to respond to. But I see a lot of potential in there in terms of the improvement, in terms of recovery of the metals, especially nickel, cadmium, and there are already a lot of progresses has been made in terms of how we can recover things, and there are efficient ways also to look at. And there is a lot of scope, I feel personally, that Maharashtra can actually come into that particular area. I have heard yesterday and day before yesterday that there are some companies who are actually working in that field. What could be those areas, how we can recover, and what could be the best process by which we can recover, which would be most efficient, sustainable as well, and not increasing the energy demands, because we are already having the gaps. Anyone?
Okay, I'll just add a few comments. And before I answer that question, I really want to add something to what just Shailesh said, because he hit the nail right on the head about making mistakes. I think to a large extent, we have, let's say a stereotype of good Indian students is someone who knows and someone who's able to quickly answer, recollect all the facts. And that stereotype is completely outdated. There is so much information out there right now that you cannot possibly remember almost all relevant and important data. Not only that, you have so many good and effective search engines available, you don't have to do that. So I think we have to have an ideal stereotype of a person who actually tries, make a mistakes, learns from those mistakes and correct those mistakes. Right? So I always wish that somewhere we made that cultural leap of incentivizing mistakes and not stigmatizing them. So, anyway, now coming back to your topic, the question that you asked. For a lithium-ion battery, to make a lithium-ion battery, you need to increase the lithium purity to above 99%. And when you have a already existing dead battery, of course it has gone through degradation, there are dendrites and all of that, but overall content or overall purity of lithium you have is already way above what you can get in mine. So definitely that is the best way to get lithium. Now, many of the times, the challenges for recovery come from companies who are really trying to protect their IP. They don't really share the mix or share what are the best possible ways that you could recover lithium. Also, those technologies are developing very fast and maturing very fast. In fact, the Tesla's chief engineer, J.D. Straubel, he left Tesla and he has started the lithium recycling company now, which is doing very well. And with lithium, we have all these other important nickel, manganese, cobalt, or whatever that there is in the battery as well. They are much smaller compounds, but they are also potential to recover even those things. And it's all a matter of having it to a volume where that is justified as a business. All those infrastructure you have to put in to create that, get all the lithium out, get all the other elements out, that justifies. Even today, there are people in India who just get all the black mass and sell, whatever you get, the lithium thing, and then they sell that, and they do some processing and they sell that. So there are various businesses that are developing. IIT Madras has a very active Professor Zunzunwala from IIT Madras is working very much with the focus of recovery of lithium and recycling. So a lot of that is happening. I think that is the best way. There are most of the people who have studied that in detail and written papers on it. They claim that you should be able to recover 99.9% of the lithium from the battery. So that means if you have like a lot of sizable volume of lithium-ion batteries in the economy circulating, then pretty much you can go on perpetually, generating lithium. You will need much less of a mining.
Yeah, thank you.
So just not related to metals, but on sustainability and net zero, one startup which I'm working with in India, typically in a 1 megawatt solar plant, you require about 2,000 panels. And each panel is just now individually packed with cardboard. And all this goes to a site. If you're doing a 200 megawatt project, it's like 400,000 panels. So 400,000 panels are unpacked and all that cardboard is chucked. So this company which I'm working with is developing a reusable repackaging concept to get that material back and then pack the next 200 megawatts and send it to another site. So that's not exactly metals recycling, but the packaging getting recycled.
So lithium-ion battery recycling is not my area, okay? But resource circularity is an important area as a part of the sustainable energy. In fact, if you look at the different metal industries, ferrous or non-ferrous metal industries, there are a lot of opportunities to recover not only the heat, but also the resources that have gone into it. I will just give one example. In the aluminium sector, there is something called spent pot liner. There are pots in the aluminium sector. There is a liner for that. And typically this liner has got cyanide into it. So what do you do with that? If you dump it over there, the cyanide is going to get leached into the water or soil and then into the water. So there is a huge potential to do that, to do the resource circularity with the cement sector. Unfortunately, the necessary policies don't exist. The necessary policies to insist on the cement sector to use it and the aluminum sector to ensure that it's disposed of properly. Same thing we talked about a fly ash from the thermal power plant. Today, that was the issue 10 years back, the government came in. Today it's becoming difficult to get the fly ash in the market. So there are a lot of resource circularity related opportunities exist in different sectors, in the aluminium sector, not only with the SPL but also spent anodes, spent cathodes. What do you do with them? In the cement sector, we already know about the opportunities. So this is something that one need to look at it from the point of view of the sustainability, not necessarily only from the point of view of the sustainable energy.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this is very insightful, and I think our time is up. Maybe we'll have a couple of questions, but not more than spending 1 minute or maybe at the end. Yeah, so we will have the panel too. Thank you very much for your participation. We appreciate that. Thanks Garje Marathi, thank you Samirji for giving us this opportunity, and we will continue with panel 2 discussions. Thank you very much.
It has been really wonderful. So before the second panel starts, I think there is a speaking session from Hemantji. So he will talk about the academics and sustainability, how it is being dealt in the academia, and what are the new things being discussed there, and some trends maybe. Yeah? So thank you.
Namaskar, good afternoon. I'm Hemant Zogaikar.
Just before that, quick time check. So it's 3:35. I think the next session at the main stage starts at 4:30. So we are on time. 4. Okay, sure. So no problem. I think we can
take
go
10 minutes.
10 minutes here, and then we do panel. We finish at 4:30. If some people want to go, they can still go at 4 o'clock. But main thing is at 4:30, I know. 4:30 पर्यंत आपण इथे करूया, आणि ह्याची पण व्हिडिओग्राफी होणार आहे, त्याचीही होणार आहे. सो आपण आपल्याला जस्टिफाय करूया आणि माझ्या मते हे कम्प्लीट करूया कारण लॉट ऑफ एफर्ट इज देअर सो लेट्स रिकॉग्नाइज दॅट
And so fortunately there is no sharing of the space here.
Yeah, there's no sharing of space. So we are not
we have
holding
4:30.
somebody.
Yeah.
We are not holding somebody. So
Absolutely.
let's be
Absolutely.
like that. Yeah.
Please.
So please carry on. 10 minutes for you and 45
problem.
minutes for the second round. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
So good afternoon again. Welcome to the session. And I believe that when I joined Asian Paints after my PhD under the guidance of JP Joshi, which continues to be my basic identity, I worked with Asian Paints for 30 years, and safeties and environment and engineers and section heads into that groups, they were being seen as an ornamental positions, very frankly. I'm talking about in 80s, 5s and 90s. And today we are at a very serious note. So I thought of making a small presentation, which is about do and die kind of a situation for a climate change. And I think it is coming. Yeah, it is coming. So in the meantime, as an academics now, after my industry experience, I'm associated with Unicity, ICT. And we are doing a lot of work through our incubation centers and in research areas under the sustainability subjects. And I think people generally make a mix-up into sustainability development goals and ESG goals. So basically sustainability is a broader canvas. And we will have to see it how we can do any act which will ensure the life for the future. And if you see demographically, the India is strong at the position, but at the same time we have to be very careful that by 2060 we will be like what today Japan is. We will be full of the senior citizens. So this is the phase where we can conserve the energy and put across all into the kind of energy zones to do something better for India. So I'm sure Pritham is trying to get my presentation there, but to save the time, I have some specific parameters which I have noted down. See, in the year 2050, the United Nations, the councils on these areas of economics, they say that China will be the largest economy, and then it will be US, and then followed by India. And by 2075, China will continue to be the largest, but then it will be followed by India and then USA. So we have a lot of scope. These are the numbers which are published and the predictions by the appropriate agencies. And world's 100 trillion economy in all USD. If you see the China and USA, they amount to 45 trillion against the Indian economy which we are about to reach to the 5th position to the 4 trillion kind of a thing. A lot of development has happened. And we as on in the world have got 8 billion people. And India amounts to 18% on an average of world population. And when we are here for 2 days, the number is increasing. We are already the populous country, even more than the China. Why I'm telling you, because there is a lot of expectation and a burden on the sustainability, because India is going to be and it is already the maximum market for all kind of activities. So we also have a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities also because of this. Now when I say this, there are some concerns which as an academician I have noted down from research. One is, let us look at the data of trees per person. Overall in the world, we have 420 trees, 422 trees for every person. But who is leading? From where Pritham has come, Australia. 3266 trees per person. USA 699. Canada 10,163. And India 28 trees per person. So if you see the deforestation, if you see the Google Maps, if you see over a period of 20 years, we are actually, that's why a presentation, the slide itself is do and die, Unless you do it, otherwise it is going to be the past tense. So this is very important thing which I thought we must talk about. So today though we are talking about artificial intelligence, but I always think whether natural stupidity is better or artificial intelligence is better. What the Vedas and Puranas used to tell us, and we being ignorant very thoughtfully about it. In the first session, there was a topic about the powers and demands, and one point which I was thinking at that point is, we have a lot of transmission losses in Maharashtra state. Today, the Maharashtra state itself, that government is not sustainable. They don't know what will happen tomorrow. If you are here, you may be knowing what situations and turbulences are happening. And if you see, there is a division happening, not just even unfortunately on the races or for different communities. The big division is happening is tax paying and non-tax paying. So I am from Mumbai, so if at all you see the Maharashtra State Electricity Board annual report. We don't bother to see, but we must, because we are doing nation building by way of tax paying. 27% is the transmission losses. It goes unaccounted. It goes unaccounted. So there is a heavy impact because of the economics, the burden which is coming to this. So key for Maharashtra is not to prioritize what is on their schedule, but as Stephen Covey says, to schedule what Maharashtra needs the priority. So that is something which I personally feel. Educating or imposing tax on seen products like liquors and cigarettes, and giving the intense incentives for the efforts which are on the sustainability, I think that should be properly balanced. There should be a cess education tax. Why not there is a sustainability tax? At least for the companies who are, at least companies like Asian Paints, they are giving 2% of the profit as per the SEBI guidelines. But what about the others? Small caps, mid caps? We must do that. I mean, if you see the opportunities in the Maharashtra, there are many bodies which government has also made. Maitri, Maharashtra Industry, Trade and Investment Facilitation Cell, that is G2B kind of a thing. There also a lot of work is happening. So I'm trying to tell you some notes which I have taken. Unfortunately, the presentation is not there.
The share of the presentation.
Yeah, I will definitely. In India, copyright is right to copy, so why I can't share it?
No, I will put it.
Yeah. So Maharashtra GDP is 43 trillion, rupees. So that means about 510 billion USD. And Maharashtra amounts to 14%, 14% of India's GDP. Huge base, huge opportunities for sustainability. But what we lack, frankly, is political maturity and political stability. The facts and numbers, they remain there. We are presently definitely looking for some improvements. Like for example, the presentation, if it gets open, it tells you how many electrical vehicles China has manufactured and sold, and how much other countries and India has done. Today still there is a paradigm shift required, because our electrical vehicles, even now and then, get into the fire. Especially people who are from India will know, we are not yet that technically savvy to have a very robust design. So a lot of issues are also there. Maharashtra contributes to 15% of India's GDP. Maharashtra forest covers only 16% of state area. So we are absolutely on a hot furnace. One more area which Maharashtra, I'm talking about Maharashtra because that is a theme, that because of the political oppositions, many projects which are nuclear based, for a reason of political vendetta, there are being oppositions. Like Jaitapur project or Nanar and Solgaon project, all both from Konkan. And if you see worldwide, the only energy which is clean will come from the nuclear. And it is being only 4.3% used. 4.3% as far as our context is concerned. So a lot of political supports and policy makers need to do that. Couple of opportunities which I see is that government can think of giving subsidy and investments for e-vehicles, because we have many startups which are coming, but they remain only academically. They come as a mushrooms and there are no policies and kind of, the incentives given. We must also have the kind of a syllabus in engineering where people can, somebody in the panel one used the word challenge and pain. Professor J.B. Joshi always used this word, that before you work on any project, always do a social immersion. Go to the people, find out the challenge and pain list, and they only you convert it into opportunities. Because today we may be some different kind of engineers of different subjects, but today world needs solution engineers. Somebody who will give solutions, we don't want Kejriwal who will grumble all the time, if you like, in a lighter vein. So we also need to have the policy makers and syllabus makers. ICT takes the pride to be into this forum, and we have a lot of things on them. Now, if you see per megawatt, the cost of wind, $38, solar $36, hydro, $64, geothermal, $75. But only, again, which I said, 4.3% of world uses nuclear power, which is absolutely a clean energy, but because of obsession and politics. Now let us look at some global risks which I had highlighted about. One is an energy supply crisis. Now you know that today there are many countries who preach us, like in India and Maharashtra, which is a part of India, about the use of and signing the nuclear treaty. But how many of you can guess what should be the GHG, greenhouse gas emission, happening for last 2 years? Russia-Ukraine war, it is 190 million tons of carbon. I was just Googled it before saying this. Around 190 million tons of carbon, and it is still continuing. So are we aware about the effect? Are we only concerned about the present, or we have to think of the future? So a lot of global risks are around. Another global risk is food availability and storage, especially in Maharashtra. Suddenly you will find that somebody in the panel one talked about monsoon, because that decides, because 65% of India is rural, and entire our GDP is based on the agri. But if at all there is a high, the foods availability, crops availability, storage is still, even after 75 years since independence, we are not independent on food storage. We are still facing this problem. The people who leave the food in the plates today, we have still the people in India, that much of food they even cannot get on their platter. So there are two divisions, two extremes. So that also, because that is a SDG goal, that is one of the, out of 17, one SDG goal. And one another global risk which we are finding in Maharashtra is unemployment. The percentage of unemployment, and somebody said in the panel one, which is very right, people has to come out of the comfort zone. We have to have a good risk appetite, then only we will come out to make something like this. So lastly, which I would like to say is, like we have a CRISIL rating. Whenever you put a fixed deposit on IPO, there is a CRISIL rating. So today we must have, either in Maharashtra or in overall government, something like green bonds. Green bonds. We used to have a flexi bonds. So there must be an encouragement to get the lot of corpus through green bonds. Let the companies get rated, like CRISIL, some other body, where they talk neutrally, professionally on the sustainability actual work which they have done. Because there are two things which I always say, charity and business. So whenever you do a charity, one should not look a business into it. And whenever somebody is doing business, let us not bring charity into it. So that is also important. So if we do that and bring unorganized industry also in this zone, then things will be better. These are some of my inputs. I am sorry, presentation is not coming, but I try to capture out some of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Actually, आपल्या sustainability group वरती त्यांचं presentation already post केलंय. So we will go through that. Presentation is already on the group with your permission.
Yeah.
So I think we'll now go to the second panel, and I'll invite Dr. Rahul. Please come. And he talked about the funds. So we also have some panelists who are setting up climate finance fund, and he will be also part of the panel. So Rahulji, yes. Thank you.
Pankaj Prasad.
Yes. This is okay, right? Somebody cheers.
सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल सगळ्यांचे एकदम आभार की अजूनपर्यंत तुम्ही आहात, कारण ऑफिशियली 3:30 पर्यंत सेशन होतं. पण थँक्यू समीर फॉर एक्सटेंडिंग द टाइम. येस. म्हणजे आय एम जस्ट थिंकिंग की आय ट्राय टू स्लाइटली फॉर्मॅटमध्ये थोडासा चेंज करेन, की इन्स्टेड ऑफ जसं 4 जण कंटिन्युअस बोलण्यापेक्षा आय थिंक सम ऑफ यू will also have some thoughts to share. Now what I'll do is maybe each of us we will take maybe 3 to 5 minutes for our opening remarks, so that we'll set the context. आणि त्याच्यानंतर instead of मी प्रश्न विचारायच्या ऐवजी maybe if there are any show of hand where if there are people who have any questions, then feel free to just raise that, so that instead of just we talking for another 40 minutes and giving last 2-3 minutes to you, we can have more engagement across. So that's additional incentive for people to stick around till end. So सुरुवात करायला मी राहुल वालावलकर. I am the President and Managing Director for Customized Energy Solutions in India, as well as President of India Energy Storage Alliance. आणि one of the areas where I have focused for last 25 years is looking at how to commercialize the technologies. आणि ऑलरेडी आपण पहिल्या पॅनलमध्ये बरंचसं डिस्कशन झालं, ज्याच्यामध्ये वेगवेगळ्या टेक्नॉलॉजीज बद्दल आपण एक्सपर्टचे व्ह्यूज ऐकले. वन ऑफ द चॅलेंज वॉट नाव वी आर फेसिंग इज की
I think climate change is now becoming reality, especially last 12 to 18 months मध्ये जे काही weather events आणि बाकीचे होतात त्याच्या I think the climate deniers are getting a reality check, but I think everyone is realizing that we are running out of time. बऱ्याच वेळेला आपण अशा ज्या कॉन्फरन्सेस होतात सस्टेनेबिलिटीवर बोलतो त्या 2030, 2050, 2070 there are different timelines. But ultimately, if you see the technologies, means already there are technologies like say wind, solar, batteries, especially lithium-ion batteries, these have all arrived. But if you study this technology evolution, it has taken almost 40 years for each of these technologies to reach the commercial maturity and scale where they are making an impact at a global scale. For example, when I started working on energy storage technologies back in 2004, in fact, lithium-ion batteries did not exist as a real commercial solution. That didn't mean that they did not exist. In fact, first commercialization of lithium-ion batteries happened in 1993 by Sony for camcorder and other handheld devices. But the technology was invented actually in 1976. And it took like almost 20 years for it to get into commercial handheld devices and other applications, power tools, and then it took another 20 years before it became viable for grid scale applications, electric vehicles, and maybe another 5-10 years it has taken to really scale up the manufacturing, where now we are looking at global manufacturing capacity of more than 1,000 gigawatt hour annual production. We are expecting this capacity to get to at least 5,000 gigawatt hour annual production by 2030 and possibly to 10,000 gigawatt hour. But most of the other technologies what we are talking about right now are still in a lab scale. So expecting these technologies to get commercialized and making an impact in a climate change fight or as a solution by 2030 is almost impossible unless we change something. If we have to have a realistic chance of 2035 or 2050. And one of the key areas for that is going to be investments and financing, which can be in again different stages. Many times when you talk about technology or technology commercialization, there is a term used as valley of death. And I mean that people just assume that okay, if we just bring in some funding for helping some early startups to cross that, then that's done. But actually it's not the reality. Reality is there are multiple valleys of death. So when there are technologies where they are getting developed, there is a technology readiness level where very few technologies actually get to technology readiness level of say 8, 9, where they are actually reaching to a consumer, where a consumer or a customer is actually using those in a real life application to see if the technology really works or not. Which is from a stage of say TRL1 where it is just the idea level, or TRL4 or 5 where it is being demonstrated at a lab scale. But beyond that, where TRL ends, there is a MRL or the manufacturing readiness starts, where you need to see that okay, now that technology works, someone has done it at a small scale, but how do you really scale up the manufacturing? Are there the manufacturing processes established? Is there the supply chain? Who is going to scale up the supply chain? Who is going to bring the economies of scale so that you can actually manufacture these technologies at a scale where instead of doing some 5-10 kg material production at a lab, now you need to manufacture maybe hundreds of tons of materials. And then next aspect is looking at even the sustainability of that complete supply chain, and are you going to look at it only after you become it as a commodity item, or can you start actually right from the design level where you start thinking about the sustainability of the material? So there are multiple these things. And then there is a commercial value of death where even if a technology is great, technology is demonstrated, but the techno-commercial does not make sense, or maybe there are alternate technologies, competing technologies which have come in, and suddenly the technology dies down. And that's where if you really need to change this, then one of the thoughts on which I'm working on, and I would request all the panelists to jump in on this, is to try to say, can we do something in a different way, where instead of like taking, say, 5 years for technology to go from lab to initial pilots, then taking another maybe 5 or 10 years to get to commercial pilots, and then again taking another 10 years to scale up the manufacturing. Can we do collectively as a group, where we can do this and some of these activities in parallel? Can we bring in learnings from across sectors? Because some of the success stories like for wind manufacturing, the wind industry was able to scale up because there are multiple innovations which came in from other industries, like the blade of the wind turbine. So that is the innovation which came in from the boat manufacturing, or the control systems or motors, those were from the industrial side. The tower construction, that was from construction or steel industry. So there are multiple such cross-industry innovations which ultimately came together to make wind a viable industry. So when we are looking at next 4 or 5 key technologies for decarbonization of electricity sector as well as maybe the decarbonization of the industrial sector, what can we do to try to bring in these type of expertise across interdisciplinary areas to try to make sure that we can, instead of taking 40 years, we can try to do it in maybe 15 years or 20 years, and what role investments and financing is going to play into this. So that's just a context setting. So I'll hand it over to Pankaj for first his remarks and then we'll go to
We start with a brief introduction.
Yes.
Hi everyone, my name is Pankaj Patil. I've been working in the energy and finance space for more than 13 years now. Basically fundraising fund deployment into clean tech, climate tech sector. Heavily involved in climate finance, ESG, different terminologies you might come across which are so confusing, no one knows what it means. But the field is still evolving. It's a field which we will see a lot of developments happening because climate change, as Rahul just mentioned, the reality is setting in. And one of the missing piece in the how we handle this challenge is finance. How do we mobilize more and more finance to deal with this challenge is something that I have been working for last 10 years now. In my last assignment, I was advisor to the Norwegian government, helping the Scandinavian companies deploy clean technologies on scale. And let me tell you, there is no other geography on this planet but India, which offers the scale and the impact that we can achieve by deploying clean technology. So fantastic opportunity when it comes to India and especially the state of Maharashtra, and we will definitely talk more about it. Just in crux, I'm founder of Eterna Clean Energy, where we are facilitating just and inclusive energy transition in India, basically ensuring that rural people and the farming community get access to clean energy. That's our mission. The another venture that I'm part of is we're setting up an impact investing fund, as I mentioned. The irony of climate change is that the least developed and developing countries have contributed least amount of carbon emissions, but they are the worst affected by climate change. So that's the irony of this challenge. So we have to do something to mobilize more and more finance and channelize this finance into these developing and least developed countries. So that's something that I'm working on. Yeah, that's basically about my background. Thanks.
Okay, it's an interesting question that how we can prepone the success, because it takes 9 months for a woman to deliver a baby or a baby girl. Today we need it yesterday. The urgency is whatever on the sustainability part, we need it yesterday. So opportunity is that there are 5 C's in sustainability. Those people who are aware will know. And the answer lies itself. I mean, those 5 C's are culture, community, collaborate, conserve, and so collaboration is the one best way where we can fund, we can come up as an angel investor. We are beyond ROI and try to encourage somebody to do. Why I'm telling this because my guru, Professor Zebi Joshi, directed me to join ICT after my retirement, and now I'm active as Professor of Entrepreneurships, and we are starting an MBA course in innovations, entrepreneurships and venture development. Somewhere we have also taken a risk, because UDCT ICT is known as a technology institute, and now we embark into the management. So I think today in the panel one also somebody rightly said, we have to boost the morale of the young ones. Okay, take a risk, take a risk. Let us not be only on an orthodox model, because that is something which we want. And I would also end my point on this, that a lot of integration, like if some of you who are in that subject expertise can come to India, keep us posted. We will have your guest lecture at such prime institutes, and let the students get to know about your failure stories. Because in the panel one again somebody said, we only focus the success, but actually we learn more from the failures, right? So that also we can integrate. So lot of things, university MOUs, like ICT has recently done MOU with University of Leeds, UK. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, let us be one planet, one sustainability. Thank you.
And Hemanji, I think you raised this important analogy in terms of can you deliver a baby in less than 9 months? So I'm not proposing that to shortcut on that. But what I'm saying is if you want to have 3 or 4 babies, then instead of waiting for all 4 babies to come aboard, maybe adopt some other babies and try to fasten it so that we can meet the timelines.
And let them be healthy baby.
Exactly. Yes. Prasad. Yes.
Good evening आणि नमस्कार. Keeping the spirit and the theme of Garje Marathi, समीरजी मी इंग्लिश प्रिफर करीन दॅन दॅट ऑफ जस्ट इंग्लिश. त्याच्यामुळे माझं पुढचे काही विचार हे इंग्लिशमध्ये असाचा माझा स्वतःचा प्रयत्न असेल. नमस्कार, मी प्रसाद प्रधान, गर्जे मराठीचा मुंबईचा फाउंडर लीडर आणि बँकिंग क्षेत्रामध्ये गेले 3 दशकं आहे आणि अमेरिकेत हेडक्वार्टर असलेल्या वन ऑफ दी लीडिंग फायनान्शियल इन्स्टिट्यूटमध्ये मी ग्लोबल ESG आणि ग्रीन लीड आहे. जसं समीरजी बोलले सुरुवातीलाच की हा सगळा प्रवास कसा झाला सुरू आमचा ESG किंवा सस्टेनेबिलिटीचा जो गेल्या वर्षी मी आणि समीरजीनं सुरुवात केली आणि डॉक्टर हेमंतजींचं त्याच्यामध्ये एंट्री अतिशय आयत्या वेळेस झाली आणि त्यांनी खूप अतिशय मॅच्युअरली आम्हा सगळ्यांना त्यावेळेस साथ दिली. बघून खूप आनंद वाटतो की जिथे एक पूर्ण वर्ष झालं आणि त्याच्यामध्ये आम्हाला खूप नवीन यात्री मिळाले आणि इथे असलेल्या पॅनलिस्ट आणि अगोदरच्या पॅनलिस्टमध्ये सगळ्यांचीच आम्हाला अतिशय इथे छान साथ मिळाली आणि सर्वार्थाने हे आमचं पॅनल ग्लोबली डायव्हर्स आणि ग्लोबली रिप्रेझेंटेटिव्ह झालं. जी थीम आम्ही पकडली सस्टेनेबिलिटीची आहे आणि मी पुन्हा सगळ्यांनाच सांगू इच्छितो आणि मी माझ्या बाकीच्या फोरममध्ये पण म्हणतो, जसं डॉक्टर हेमंतनी पण सांगितलं की sustainability is just not about any technology or any technical terms. It is all about even which is becoming relevant to your life currently. We need to be sustainable across. आणि म्हणून तर आपण एवढ्या खुर्च्या जाऊन सुद्धा आपण सगळे इथे थांबलो. That's what we showed our sustainability, right? So coming to what we are talking about, which is even the financial options and all those, आणि जिथे आता अगोदर पॅनलमध्ये पण विचारलं गेलं की the need of the green bonds which is coming up. माझे विचार 3 फेजेसमध्ये मी मांडणार आहे. एक तर हाऊ द करंटली द ग्रीन फिनान्स ऑर द सस्टेनेबिलिटी इज ॲप्लिकेबल ग्लोबली टू बिकम द ग्रीन फिनान्सिंग मोर व्हायबल आणि त्याचं कनेक्शन आपल्या महाराष्ट्रामध्ये कसं आहे ते तर नक्कीच सांगू शकतो. माझ्या प्राईम मिनिस्टर ऑफिसमधल्या असलेल्या अनुभवानुसार आणि जे मला काही आताची काही पॉलिसी अंडर मेकिंग जे चालू आहे ते माहिती आहे त्यानुसार भारतासारख्या देशामध्ये ग्रीन फिनान्स आणणं तसं डिफिकल्ट आहे पण इम्पॉसिबल नक्कीच नाही. आणि जर आपण PwCचा आत्ताचा अलीकडचा जर रिपोर्ट बघितला तर भारतामध्ये आम्ही अतिशय अभिमानाने सांगू शकतो की जवळजवळ 75 ते 80% इंडिया इनकॉर्पोरेशन is heading to the complete green finance and the green compliance with the ESG and sustainability. ही खूप अतिशय एनकरेजिंग गोष्ट आहे. दुसरं म्हणजे ग्रीन फिनान्स हे त्या ठिकाणी आहे जिथे आमच्यासारख्या फायनान्शियल इन्स्टिट्यूट काम करत असतात पण सगळ्यात त्याचं महत्त्वाचं आहे की त्याचं इंडिया इनकॉर्पोरेशन त्याची ॲप्लिकेबिलिटी ग्राउंड रियालिटीमध्ये किती करू शकते ते. आता क्लायमेट मॅक्ससारख्या काही कंपन्या आहेत भारतामध्ये त्या खूप रेअर आहेत. ह्या कंपन्या बऱ्याच अंशी दे आर रनिंग देअर ओन मोनोपॉली शॉप्स अँड इन अ अदर वे दे आर ट्राईंग टू टेक इव्हन द कॉर्पोरेट हाऊसेस फॉर ग्रांटेड by giving them the options that is how they can actually be compliant with the ESG compliances and the sustainability compliance. ही जी फील्ड आहे आणि इथे असलेल्या माझ्या समस्त महाराष्ट्रीय मुळाच्या अमेरिकन मंडळींना मला हे आव्हान असेल की ही प्रचंड मोठी स्पेस आहे ज्याच्यामध्ये आपण सर्वजण तुम्ही काम करू शकता. एस्पेशली इव्हन कॅनेडियन सुद्धा जिथे मला माहिती आहे की गुंडे पण आहेत तिथे आणि even people like you who are the leaders and driving this whole ESG and the sustainability, इथे प्रचंड मोठा वाव आहे back in India as well and vice versa. Last and not least which I will be covering by जे समीरजी पण बोलले शेवटी मी आपला अख्खा एका वर्षाचा प्रवास मला तुमच्या सगळ्यांच्या समोर ठेवू इच्छितो मी की जेणेकरून आपल्याला पण कळेल की गर्जे मराठीचा सस्टेनेबिलिटी ग्रुप जो आहे हा फक्त कागदोपत्री नाही आहे, फक्त इयर टू इयर प्रेझेंटेशनसाठी सुद्धा नाही आहे. अँड आय रिअली give credit to all our leaders in the sustainability, including Samirji, Zogarekar Sahib आहेत आणि सगळेच जण की we maintain that rigor of monthly meeting. We maintain that rigor and openness to get newer leaders. We ensure that is regional and geographical diversity we retain and we get all these things. Dr. Pritam attas magashi bolle, and in fact he was the one who made with our down south the whole our completeness of the geography diversity. And that gives a real great satisfaction to all of us to see that is how inclusive we are in the sustainability efforts. मी शेवटी तुम्हाला काही रिअल टाईम 6 ते 7 एक्झाम्पल्स देणार आहे की गेल्या वर्षामध्ये आम्ही ती किती इम्प्लिमेंट केली अँड विच आर ॲक्च्युअली मेकिंग द डिफरन्सेस टू द कम्युनिटी अँड इन इंडिया अँड कॉर्पोरेशन ॲट लार्ज.
थँक्यू प्रसाद. सो आपल्या त्या पॅनलचा जो दुसरा पार्ट आहे की आता आपण म्हटलं टेक्नॉलॉजी किंवा त्याच्यामध्ये फायनान्सिंग, ESG आहे, बाकी इन्व्हेस्टमेंट अपॉर्च्युनिटीज आहेत, पण त्याच्याशी महाराष्ट्राशी कशा लिंक करू शकतो. आता जसं एक म्हणजे भारताचं जर का उदाहरण द्यायचं झालं तर ऑब्व्हियसली सोलर, विंड, भारत हे जगातल्या टॉप 3 कंट्रीजपैकी आहे ज्याच्यामध्ये डिप्लॉयमेंट आहे. आय थिंक विंड इंडस्ट्रीमध्ये आहे की वी हॅव अ मेजॉरिटी डोमेस्टिक मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग अवेलेबल. ॲट द सेम टाइम आय थिंक देर इज अ सिग्निफिकंट चायना इम्पोर्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द कॉस्ट फॅक्टर आणि अदर थिंग. पण सोलरमध्ये ऑन द अदर हँड साईड भारत हे ऑलमोस्ट 97% इम्पोर्ट डिपेंडेंट होता. सो आता गव्हर्नमेंट इज ट्राईंग टू चेंज दॅट. सिमिलरली थ्रू इंडिया एनर्जी स्टोरेज अलायन्स बॅक इन 2016 आम्ही इनिशिएटिव्ह चालू केला की let's not look at India just as a market for these advanced energy storage technologies and only focus on developing market, but see if we can actually encourage R&D, manufacturing and adoption of these technologies in India. तर त्याच्यामध्ये थोडं आम्ही म्हणजे विथ कोविड आणि 5 वर्ष मागे आहोत, पण फायनली भारतामध्ये पण आता गिगा फॅक्टरी चालू झालेली आहेत. भारतात नीती आयोगच्या इनिशिएटिव्हप्रमाणे आणि मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हेवी इंडस्ट्रीजनी आता एक ॲडव्हान्स केमिस्ट्री सेल, बॅटरी मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग, प्रोडक्शन लिंक इन्सेंटिव्ह काढली आहे ज्याच्यामध्ये 50 गिगावॅट आवर मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंगसाठी गव्हर्नमेंट इज इन्सेंटिव्हायझिंग. बट ॲज अ इंडिया एनर्जी स्टोरेज अलायन्स आम्ही इनफॅक्ट ॲडिशनल 500 गिगावॅट आवर बाय 2035 असं टार्गेट ठेवलं आहे. आणि त्याच्या असोसिएटेड जे कम्प्लीट सप्लाय चेन आहे की नुसतं सेल मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग किंवा असेंब्ली नाही, पण त्याची कम्प्लीट जी असोसिएटेड सप्लाय चेन आहे ती इनफॅक्ट त्याच्या ॲटलिस्ट डबल साईजची बनवायची, सो दॅट जेव्हा US मध्ये किंवा युरोपमध्ये ज्या नवीन गिगा फॅक्टरी बनत आहेत, इन्स्टेड ऑफ देम जस्ट इम्पोर्टिंग फ्रॉम चायना और सम अदर प्लेसेस, बिकॉज दीज कंट्रीज आर ऑल्सो आफ्टर कोविड लुकिंग फॉर डायव्हर्सिफिकेशन ऑफ देअर सप्लाय चेन फॉर एनर्जी सिक्युरिटी. सो कॅन वी मेक इंडिया ॲज अ ग्लोबल हब आणि भारताला याच्यामध्ये ग्लोबल सप्लाय चेनमध्ये कसं एस्टॅब्लिश करता येईल याच्यावर गेली 5 वर्ष बरीच काम करतोय. पण वन ऑफ द चॅलेंजेस, आणि आय थिंक बळवंतांनी थोडं बोलताना एल्यूड केलं की अनफॉर्च्युनेटली महाराष्ट्रामध्ये आता ह्याच्यापैकी खूपच कमी इन्व्हेस्टमेंट्स येत आहेत. खरं महाराष्ट्रामध्ये भरपूर एज्युकेशनल इन्स्टिट्यूट आहेत, राईट फ्रॉम UDCT पासून पुण्याला सिमेंट आहे, NCL आहे, आयसर आहे. तर भरपूर आय थिंक ॲट R&D लेवल महाराष्ट्रामध्ये बऱ्यापैकी केपेबिलिटी आहेत. पण इन टर्म्स ऑफ सम ऑफ द मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग बघितलं तर ह्याच्यामध्ये गुजरात, तामिळनाडू, तेलंगणा, कर्नाटका और इवन आता मोस्ट रिसेंटली ओडिशाने नवीन पॉलिसी आणल्या आहेत की ज्याच्यामध्ये बरेचसे इन्व्हेस्टमेंट्स आता तिकडे जात आहेत. UPनी पॉलिसी आणल्या आहेत. सो दॅट वी आर ट्राईंग टू चेंज. बट अगेन आर देअर एनिथिंग विच यू थिंक फ्रॉम द, कारण अगेन मुंबई being the financial capital of India, is there anything where we can bring in from the maybe investment perspective and drive any advantages in Maharashtra? I'll open it up for everyone to share your views on this.
वेल पर्सनली मला असं वाटतं की जसं मी म्हणत होतो सुरुवातीला की इंडिया आणि महाराष्ट्र जी अपॉर्च्युनिटी ऑफर करते टू ॲड्रेस इश्यूज लाईक क्लायमेट चेंज अँड हॅव इम्पॅक्ट ऑन स्केल, नो अदर country on this planet offers that kind of opportunity. First and foremost, it's a very attractive country for investment when it comes to climate technology, climate finance. पण राहुल, मला हे थोडंसं एक कॉन्टेक्स्टमध्ये हा टॉपिक थोडासा एक्सप्लेन करायला आवडेल. इंडिया अशी युनिक प्लेस आहे जिथे एनर्जी सिक्युरिटी, एनर्जी ॲक्सेस, एनर्जी अफोर्डेबिलिटी जे आधीच्या पॅनलमध्ये पण डिस्कस झालं, आणि एनर्जी ॲक्सेस हे तिन्ही जे डायमेन्शन आहेत एनर्जी सेक्टरचे ते आपल्याला बघायला मिळतात. So while we want to address climate change issue, reduce and decarbonize the economy, at the same time we cannot just dream about completely switching to clean energy like this, because we have poverty, we need to address that issue. आणि त्याच्यामुळे जर आपण बघितलं तर इंडियामध्ये फॉसिल विल कंटिन्यू टू प्ले अ रोल फॉर नेक्स्ट फॉरसिबल फ्युचर. आणि कमिंग बॅक टू जे राहुलचा मेन मुद्दा होता की आपण काय करू शकतो किंवा वेअर वी आर स्ट्रगलिंग. When it comes to investment and flow of finance, one of the biggest concern that we get to know about is lack of clarity about policies, or policies being changed quite frequently, unpredictably. That is one thing. But one thing that has gone highly in favor of India is last 10 years political stability at the center. Political stability in terms of aggressiveness that the government and the bureaucracy has shown, the willingness has been very strong. Maharashtra definitely मागच्या काही वर्षांमध्ये has lost its edge, though it's leading economy. It is the most industrialized state of India. It is also policy-wise very progressive state. That is the assessment that most of the foreign investors have. But if we see what has been happening over the last 2-3 years, मागच्या 2-3 वर्षांमध्ये पॉलिटिकल जे टर्मॉइल थोडंसं आपण महाराष्ट्रामध्ये बघतोय, त्याच्यामुळे जी most of the policies have been populist measures rather than being addressing or giving a push to the economic growth. So that's where I think महाराष्ट्रामध्ये थोडासा एक आपण थोडंसं स्टॅग्नन्सी बघतोय, किंवा जे आपण म्हणतो की महाराष्ट्र इज लुझिंग इट्स एज टू कर्नाटका और तेलंगणा फॉर दॅट मॅटर्स, is the political turmoil or instability or uncertainty that's there. But still, having said that, India and Maharashtra still remain a very, very attractive investment destination where investors are very keen to put in place their projects, invest in those projects, definitely. That's my assessment. Yeah.
माझा मुद्दा असा आहे की सगळं माइंडसेटवरती अवलंबून आहे, बिकॉज माइंड कंट्रोल्स बॉडी. ओके, आपल्याला मनाचे श्लोक पण रामदास स्वामींनी हेच सांगितलं आहे. आता बघा, इथे आपल्याकडे जे काही पाहुणे आले आहेत समिटला, त्यातले ऋषितुल्य असे एक प्राध्यापक जे बी जोशी, म्हणजे सगळेच जे पाहुणे आहेत ते, पण मी दोघांची नावं खास घेतो, पण ते समाजासाठी काय करतात. जनरली मानसिकता कशी असते, व्हॉट इज इन फॉर मी, इनकमिंग फ्री. अंबानी तेच म्हणतो ना, इनकमिंग फ्री. बट व्हॉट इज इन फॉर यू हे आपण कुठे करतोय. तर इकडे जे बी जोशी आहेत, इकडे आमटे सर आहेत, की ज्याने आयुष्य सगळं दिलं. माइंडसेट बघा किती. हेच जर का आत्ता आपण टॉम क्रूज आणि शाहरुख खानला बोलवलं असतं तर लोकांना बोलवायला लागलं नसतं. त्यामुळे आपल्याला चॅलेंजेस आहेत महाराष्ट्रामध्ये, पण 2-3 गोष्टींवरती जर का आपण काम केलं. एक म्हणजे मुलांची सॉफ्ट स्किल्स, कारण आता खूप स्ट्रेसफुल स्थिती आहे तिकडे, खूप स्ट्रेसफुल. तुम्ही इथे आहात, परंतु सकाळी ट्रेन पकडण्यापासून ते ॲडमिशन मिळेपर्यंत, आणि एवढं सोशल कोहेसिव्हनेस कमी झालं आहे. जसं गाड्यांवरती मुंबईला तुम्ही बघत असाल, डॉक्टर्सचा सिम्बॉल आहे, लॉयरचा सिम्बॉल आहे, लवकरच टॅक्स पेअर म्हणून पण येईल स्टिकर. कारण लोकांना तो डिस्पॅरिटी यायला लागली की मी देतोय पण मला काय मिळत आहे. लक्षात घ्या, आम्ही मुंबईवरती फिरतो तेव्हा रस्ते असतात, पण ते खड्ड्यांमध्ये असतात, इथे काहीच दिसत नाही. म्हणजे एनिवे माइंडसेटचा एक मोठा आहे. दुसरा मुद्दा असा आहे की आता वेळ आली आहे, रिझर्वेशन वगैरे हा भयंकर झाले आता 75 वर्ष. किती आपण एकमेकांच्यात भांडायचं. ब्रिटिशांनी तेच केलं, आपण त्याच्या पुढे जातोय. मला असं वाटतं की आता म्युन्सिपल कॉर्पोरेशन्स, गव्हर्नमेंटमध्ये ना तुमच्या माझ्यासारखी लोक, कमिशनर्स, डेप्युटी कमिशनर्स, पॉलिसी मेकर्स असली पाहिजे, आणि त्यांना घ्यायची मानसिकता गव्हर्नमेंटची असली पाहिजे. दोज हू आर व्हेरी प्रोफेशनल्स. झाली 3 आडनावं किती वर्ष चालले, ते मला वाटतं आपल्याला ते पण एक करायला पाहिजे. आणि जसं तुम्ही म्हणालात राहुल की ICT वेगवेगळे इन्स्टिट्यूट्स आहेत, तुमच्यासारखे एक्सपर्ट्स आहेत, गव्हर्नमेंटने असं एक पोर्टल किंवा इंट्रानेट चालू करावं की ज्याच्यामध्ये इनपुट्स घ्यावे, काय करता येईल, आणि मग त्याची एक लॉन्ड्री लिस्ट बनवावी, प्रायोरिटी बनवावी, आणि त्यावरती काम करावं. वी हॅव टू मेक दिस बिगिनिंग. आत्ताच काय तिथे स्टॅबिलिटी नाही आहे, पण याच्यातूनच आपल्याला वर जायचं आहे. काही माइंडसेट चेंज करायला पाहिजे, तरच होईल. थँक्यू.
Thank you, Dr. Hemant. Coming back to the question which you raised, which is more again related to finance आणि opportunity. पंकजनी खूप चांगले मुद्दे मांडले की जे महाराष्ट्र आणि ॲट लार्ज भारतासाठी खूप ॲप्लिकेबल आहे. हॅविंग सेड सो, एक सत्य आपण कोणीच अमान्य करू शकत नाही की एक गोष्ट जी पंकजनी म्हटली की political stability for the last 1 decade in India was definitely attracting the investment in India for sure. महाराष्ट्राने गेले 3 वर्षात जे काय झालं सगळ्यांना माहिती, त्याच्यामध्ये आपल्याला इन्व्हेस्टमेंट एवढी अट्रॅक्ट करता आली नाही आणि त्याचं प्रतिबिंब आम्ही आत्ताच्या दावोस परिषदेमध्ये बघितलं, जिथे गर्जे मराठी पण प्रेझेंट होतं आपलं, आणि त्यावेळेस पण आम्हाला बोलताना इव्हन आपले CM तिथे आले होते, आपले उद्योगमंत्री आले होते, आणि वी कुड सी द चॅलेंज कमिंग इन. दो इन्व्हेस्टमेंट आणली गेली, दाखवली गेली गोष्ट वेगळ्या आहे, पण ह्या सगळ्यामध्ये देर इज डेफिनेटली अ बिग सिल्वर लाईन विच इज कमिंग अप, आणि जे बऱ्याच मंडळींना माहिती नाही आहे की प्राईम मिनिस्टर स्कीम्स खाली अशा काही स्पेसिफिक योजना आहेत, एस्पेशली रिन्युएबल एनर्जीमध्ये ज्या इन्व्हेस्टमेंट होतात, जिथे आपण परत म्हणतो जिथे आपले ग्रीन इन्व्हेस्टमेंट व्हायला पाहिजे, अशा बऱ्याच योजना आहेत जिथे तुम्ही पीपल आउटसाइड ऑफ इंडिया, NRIs आपल्या सगळ्याच तुमच्यासारखे, दे कॅन इन्व्हेस्ट बॅक इन इंडिया थ्रू द सेंट्रल मिनिस्ट्री. कसं होतं की जेव्हा इन्व्हेस्टर कोणता इन्व्हेस्ट करायचा प्रयत्न करतो त्यावेळेस ऑफकोर्स द पॉलिटिकल इन्स्टेबिलिटी कॅरीज द व्हेरी क्रिटिकल रोल. जेव्हा एखादा व्यक्ती बघतो की हा महाराष्ट्रातलं पॉलिटिकल स्टॅबिलिटी ही खूप अनसर्टन आहे, त्याच्यामुळे मी तिथे इन्व्हेस्ट करू की नको, पण जर तुम्हाला सेंट्रलचा राजाश्रय मिळाला की ज्याच्यावरती यू आर शुअर अबाउट युअर इन्व्हेस्टमेंट, सो देर आर अशा अनंत योजना आहेत ज्या सेंट्रल मिनिस्ट्रीकडून येतात आणि ज्या प्राईम मिनिस्टर पोर्टफोलिओच्या खाली त्या ड्राईव्ह केल्या जातात, आणि जास्तीत जास्त त्या आपल्या सस्टेनेबिलिटी, रिन्युएबल एनर्जी ह्या सगळ्या सेक्टरमध्ये आहेत. अशा ठिकाणी आपल्या सगळ्या समस्त मंडळींचं इन्व्हेस्टमेंट आणली आणि केली तर तिथे द सिक्युरिटी येते. यू कॅरी द टायटल ऑफ द स्टेबिलिटी इन द सेंट्रल, which may be Namo 3.0 or maybe next whatever it comes in Namo 3. or 4.0, but you see the stability coming in, there is a assurity coming from the central government and you are sure about your investment. Plus त्या इन्व्हेस्टर्सना चॉईस असतो, इफ दे आर नेटिव्ह फ्रॉम द स्टेट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र they have right to demand for their investment to be vested in the state of Maharashtra. So अगदी क्लिअर गाईडलाईन्स आहे. त्याच्यामुळे मला वाटत नाही की आपण इन्सिक्युअर फील करायला पाहिजे की महाराष्ट्रामध्ये ते इन्व्हेस्टमेंट येतील की नाही ते. त्याच्यामुळे हा एकदम ओपन कॉरिडॉर आहे. दुसरं, आय वॉन्ट टू ब्रिंग इट माय अटेन्शन, एव्हरीवन्स अटेन्शन टू रिसेंट फिनान्शियल बिल, म्हणजे आपलं जे बजेट जे आलं ते, आणि आपण त्यावेळेस डिस्कस करत होतो. ह्याच्यावरती दुमत असू शकतं, म्हणजे बळवंतजी आहे तिथे आहेत, म्हणजे कारण ही इज अ व्हेरी वेटरन इन द इंडस्ट्री अँड ही इज बीन सीइंग द फिनान्शियल बिल्स फॉर लास्ट मेनी इयर्स. पण ह्या फिनान्शियल बिलपासून एक क्लिअर गाईडलाईन्स आलेला आहे की देर इज अ व्हेरी स्ट्रॉंग सस्टेनेबल फोकस ऑन द ग्रीन एनर्जी अँड रिलेटेड इन्व्हेस्टमेंट्स. एक जर आपण बघितलं तर CSRच्या अंडर creating the our interns has been mandated to the India Incorporation, आणि हे जॉब हे कंपल्सरीली तुम्हाला ग्रीन जॉब्स म्हणूनच तुम्हाला डिपोट केले जातात. हे मॅन्डेट आत्तापर्यंत कोणत्याही सरकारने आणलेलं नव्हतं आणि कुठेही मॅन्डेट केलं नव्हतं. इंडिकेशन खूप क्लिअर आहे की वी आर सिरियस अबाउट दिस. इंडिया इज एनिवेज कमिटेड बेसिस. आता जे आपलं COP29 झालं त्यावेळेस सुद्धा इंडिया इज व्हेरी क्लिअर, इंडियाज कमिटमेंट टू द ग्रीन इनिशिएटिव्ज अँड ग्लोबल वॉर्मिंग. पण हे जे छोट्या छोट्या ज्या ॲक्शन्स ज्या आहेत त्या दे आर गोइंग टू बी द लॉंग इफेक्टिव्ह ॲक्शन्स. प्लस शैलेश, यू कॅन सेकंड मी, the recent bill is quite supportive on the solar panels. There are subsidies flowing in, there are openings coming up for people who are want to actually invest in that and start even the startup and other things. And ह्या subsidies are not just coming at a central level, they are going to be routed through the state government. So clear indication आहे आत्ताच्या बिलमध्ये, आणि I see this is the start of the new era. आता इंडिकेटिव्ह आहे, पुढच्या वर्षाच्या बिलामध्ये तुम्हाला काही डायरेक्ट इंडिकेशन्स येऊ शकतात, अँड आय थिंक द सेंट्रल गव्हर्नमेंट इज व्हेरी क्लिअर ऑन दिस. नाउ कमिंग टू द थर्ड पॉईंट अँड विच वी आय वुड लाईक टू से की फक्त कॉर्पोरेट इंडस्ट्रीनी ह्या गोष्टी करून चालत नाहीत. इट हॅज टू कम टू द ग्राउंड रियालिटी. जोगळेकर सरांनी आपल्याला बऱ्याच वेळा 2-3 अशा गोष्टी सांगितल्या विच आर क्वाईट कॉमन इन इवन द ॲप्लिकेबिलिटी, की जोपर्यंत तुमच्याकडे इंटेंट नाही आहे तोपर्यंत सस्टेनेबिलिटी तहयात राहणं खूप डिफिकल्ट आहे. आपल्या समाजाच्या मनामध्ये ही सस्टेनेबिलिटी यायला पाहिजे. अँड इट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम अवर ओन हाऊस. मी एक्झॅक्टली एका वर्षापूर्वी सुद्धा तेच सांगितलं होतं की इवन इफ वी नो हाऊ आय कॅन सेव्ह दॅट एनर्जी अँड इफ माझ्या मनामध्ये ती जर त्याच्याबद्दल जी सेन्स आहे, तर आय थिंक आय शुड अँड आय एम रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू क्रिएट दॅट अवेअरनेस अबाउट द सस्टेनेबिलिटी अँड कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट ॲट लार्ज फॉर द ग्लोबल वॉर्मिंग. I think to interest of the time, and Samirji, with your even permission, I would like to give 5-6 examples right away. How we, as a sustainability group in Garje Marathi, we actually demonstrated this the real-time stories. So जेव्हापासून आम्ही गेले 1 वर्ष अख्खा हा प्रवासांचा चालू आहे. प्रत्येक महिन्याला नवीन आमचे लीडर्स काही येतात, ते कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट करतात, ते सांगतात. पण we have actually implemented that in our respective professions as well. आपल्या इथे in even my own organization, suppose I have 25,000 employees in India, the attempt and the endeavor started right from our corporate offices. साधी गोष्ट आहे, there is a humongous consumption of the coffee which happens in all the corporate offices. अमेरिकेत तर खूपच आहे. त्याच्या ज्या बिया राहतात त्या एकेकाळी सगळ्या फेकून दिल्या जायच्या. वी स्टार्टेड ॲक्च्युली प्रिझर्विंग दोज सीड्स ऑफ द कॉफी अँड कन्व्हर्टिंग दॅट इनटू द कॉम्पोस्ट. नंबर 1, वी क्रिएटेड द अवेअरनेस नॉट जस्ट अक्रॉस द कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड अमंग्स द एम्प्लॉईज बट इन आवर नेबरहूड ॲज वेल. स्टार्ट डुईंग द टेरेस गार्डनिंग. कारण इंडियासारख्या तुम्हाला माहिती बऱ्यापैकी अपार्टमेंटल स्ट्रक्चर असतं, त्याच्यामध्ये गार्डन्स असतात, लोकांचे मोठे टेक असतात. त्याच्यामध्ये हे टेरेस गार्डनिंग कल्चर हॅज गिवन सिम्पल गोष्ट आहे. 25,000 एम्प्लॉईपैकी जरी 5,000 एम्प्लॉईंनी सुद्धा टेरेस गार्डनिंग चालू केली, इट ॲड्स ह्युमंगस कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन बॅक टू युअर ग्रीन इनिशिएटिव्स. अँड दॅट वी हॅव डन अँड वी हॅव ट्रॅक ड्युरिंग अवर होल सस्टेनेबिलिटी प्रोग्राम हिअर. Number 3, and in fact, if anybody is connected with me on the LinkedIn, you can see my article on that. Mayawaki jungles. So I actually was partnering with one of the superintendent of police in Dharashiv. त्यांचं नाव आहे अतुल कुलकर्णी. आणि ते त्या एरिया सुपरिटेंडंट पोलीस म्हणजे कमिशनर ऑफ दॅट एरिया. त्यांनी ही वर्क इन पार्टनरशिप विथ माय ॲडवायझरी अँड अलॉंग विथ द कलेक्टरशिप ऑफ दॅट डिस्ट्रिक्ट. आणि त्यांनी NH54 म्हणजे नॅशनल हायवे 54 वरती जवळजवळ 150 किलोमीटर अख्खा पॅच त्यांनी पूर्णपणे मायावती जंगल तयार केले. नॉट ओनली दॅट इम्पॅक्टेड द होल ग्रीन इनिशिएटिव्ह. तिथूनची आजूबाजूची जी कम्युनिटी आणि वस्ती जी आहे त्याच्यामध्ये काही पारधी लोक पण होते. आता इथूनच्या बऱ्याच मंडळींना माहिती असेल, पारधी लोक बीन कन्सिडर ॲज क्रिमिनल, म्हणजे ते लोक फक्त चोऱ्या करून खून करूनच ते जगणार असतात. ही पारधी मंडळी सुद्धा ह्या इनिशिएटिव्हमध्ये कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट झालं, त्यांच्यातलं क्रिमिनॅलिटी कमी झाली अँड अराउंड दॅट दे कुड क्रिएट दॅट अवेअरनेस विद इन फार्मर्स ऑल्सो टू हॅव इव्हन द फ्रूट प्लांटेशन अक्रॉस. वॉटर रिटेन्शन वाढलं जमिनीचं, सॉईल रिटेन्शन वाढलं. त्याच्यामुळे झालं काय की हे रेप्लिकेशन एवढं व्हायरल झालं की काही ठिकाणी आम्ही मग वॉटर बॉडीज ॲडॉप्ट केल्या. आता कधी कधी काय व्हायचं की एखादं जुनं तळं असेल त्याच्यात कचरा टाकून वगैरे, मुंबईसारख्या ठिकाणी सुद्धा आपण झोपडपट्टी ठाण्यासारख्या ठिकाणी तिथे मोठी झोपडपट्टी आहे, तिथे जुन्या तळ्यामध्ये कचरा टाकून तळं पूर्ण भरलेलं होतं. वी अडॉप्टेड दॅट लेक, डिड ॲक्च्युली द होल कन्झर्वेशन आणि त्या तळ्याचं पूर्ण आम्ही स्टोरेज पूर्णपणे वाढवलं. रिझन इज दॅट इम्पॅक्टेड इन द कम्युनिटी ॲट लार्ज. जी एकेकाळी झोपडपट्टी गलिच्छ होती त्यांना त्याची डिसिप्लिन झाली, त्यांना त्याचं कळायला लागलं की किती महत्त्व येते. दे स्टार्टेड कन्झ्युमिंग द वॉटर. अनदर सिम्पल ॲक्टिव्हिटीज लाईक से बीच क्लीनअप ॲक्टिव्हिटी. आज मुंबईसारख्या ठिकाणी जर तुम्ही बघितलं तर प्रभादेवीच्या किनाऱ्यावर तुम्ही गेलात, प्रत्येक दिवसाला सगळा जो कचरा आणि मैला असतो तो तुमचा ड्रेनेजमधून परत येतो. जे मुंबईकर आहेत, ज्यांना मुंबईची नाळ आहेत, त्या सगळ्यांना माहिती असेल. वी पुट द पीपल इन द बॅचेस, वी एन्श्युअर दॅट इज अँड इट्स लाईक अ फन ॲक्टिव्हिटी फॉर इव्हन द किड्स ऑल्सो. आनंदाने मुलं यायची आणि अख्खा बीच ते 3 ते 4 तासाच्या ॲक्टिव्हिटीमध्ये क्लीन करायची. अशा अनंत छोट्या छोट्या ज्या इनिशिएटिव्ह आहेत दॅट ऑल ॲड्स टू द सस्टेनेबिलिटी ॲट लार्ज. सांगायचं तात्पर्य असं की ह्या इनिशिएटिव्ह फक्त आम्ही एका कल्लीत किंवा एका अंगी घेतल्या नाहीत. त्याच्यामध्ये गरजे मराठीच्या सस्टेनेबिलिटी ग्रुपचं प्रचंड कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन आहे, कारण प्रत्येक मंथली मीटिंगच्या वेळेस आणि जोगळकर साहेब यू कॅन एन्डॉर्स दॅट, वी यूज टू ब्रेनस्टॉर्म आणि त्याच्यातून ह्या कल्पना पुढे यायच्या. ऑल वी कुड डू इज जस्ट एक्झिक्यूट बॅक दॅट द कम्युनिटी ॲट अवर वर्क प्लेस अँड द सोसायटी ॲट लार्ज. त्याच्यामुळे हे इट्स रिअली अ रिअल टाईम एक्झाम्पल वेअर वी कुड से we could bring back the difference to the community. We could contribute back to the green initiative. Last but not least, again coming to the theme of our discussion. As a banker, as a finance person, I strongly believe and I second Pankaj what you mentioned. India, Maharashtra has huge potential in the investment in the ESG and sustainability. It's just a matter of you should know the right opportunity, right spot. माझं तुम्हा समस्त अमेरिकन वासीय, कॅनडा वासीय सगळ्यांना अपील असेल, रिमेन कनेक्टेड विथ आवर ग्रुप, रिमेन कनेक्टेड विथ द गर्जे मराठी, रिमेन कनेक्टेड विथ ऑल ऑफ अस. Opportunities will keep on coming. Don't just go with the taglines in the social media or the print media की महाराष्ट्रात असं चाललंय, महाराष्ट्रात असं चाललंय. Reach out to us, take the right and authentic information. And we'll be more than happy to support if anybody wants to bring in investment, if anyone wants to support any of the activities. Like say, Kedar, you have a lot to do back for our state of Maharashtra. Everybody, Shailesh, you just came in here, right? But even Pritam ji, sagyana mi appeal karin. Reach out to us if you want to do and contribute back to this real cause of a sustainability, so that we can make this work group keep it sustainable forever. Thank you.
So any questions from?
Sorry, I can't hold myself back. Not about a question, but okay, I come from this kind of field. One thing I would like to say is thank you for all the discussions, and I think I want to address everybody who's in Canada, in US, and who are looking at it, and especially from India. I come from India, Mumbai now आहे, Mumbai to and Mumbai never goes out to me. I still work. I think Kedar, I met him with my initiatives in India. Just wanted to address one thing which I want you guys all to take home today is don't look at sustainability and climate change from a Western perspective.
Absolutely.
Okay? One major thing that all of you do, you're looking at energy, you're looking at it. You know the best, I think last year's architectural award, if you see, you know where it was the most architecturally innovative building was in Rajasthan, Ratnavati High School. It is built on ancient Indian sustainable architecture in a desert which doesn't need an AC. It was built by a New York-based architect. So you have to realize there is a lot of technology in India which can be used, which we have lost our way. I think when it comes to energy and production, it's a very different way of looking at it. And coming from sustainability, we actually work in India on demand destruction and efficiency. We don't look at it, which is again a very different perspective all of you guys should have. So my thing is, from your universities, please encourage Indian architecture and Indian science, which is not done. I'm from IIT Bombay, I've seen university. We don't do any studies about our own technologies. We learn a lot of Western technology and we copy that and paste it. In Mumbai, sagre malls should be broken because they have glass windows. Not allowed in India. Hawa Mahal, azunihi AC lagat nahi. So I'm just saying that whenever we think about sustainability.
Gundiji, I will support you for IIT Bombay for sure because I am IIT Bombay alumni. I'm more than happy to support you.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Just analyze. I'm not saying I'm not preaching anything. Whenever you take a decision, look at the local things. You can build something which is of Western technology in West, American, but do what is good for India from India. If you go to Madurai Meenakshi temple, it is 40 degrees in Madurai. Inside the Meenakshi temple, it's always 25 degrees. Even today, with everything crowded. Why does that exist? We don't study architecture, it is science. It is something that we should do. So anyway, just don't hold back. Sorry.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for both panels. This was very, very insightful. So myself, Prashant Motevar, and I work for world's largest cloud infrastructure company. And specifically my role is AI and data science for our internal use to create a competitive advantage to grow the business increase the bottom line. So being very close to AI and also in the cloud infrastructure business, I'm seeing AI workload is increasing every day. And especially AI is becoming very simple with Gen AI, large language model, large mathematical model. Adaptability is very fast. And it's not about tech companies in every sector, I'm seeing AI. And I know that AI workload is disproportionately higher, compute power, and that creates a lot of challenges in our company for power and infrastructure. We are definitely innovating for renewable energies, liquid cooling, quantum computing, but those are very localized effect in cloud. But since you are, like you have a very global angle and different lens, I have two questions. How do you see AI? Do you see that as a threat in terms of overall sustainability? And if you see that as a problem, then all the things we talked in both panels, like technology, policies, financing, regulations, are those scalable enough to handle this AI threat?
No, thank you. So my view here is that AI is a tool, right? So depending on how you use it, there will be some aspects related to the increased energy consumption. But again, now what has happened is the renewable energy has become actually more affordable and this, right? So with data centers, since again energy is a critical part and it is valuable, as long as data center companies are actually encouraging and adopting things like the RE plus storage to make it truly renewable based and reducing the environmental impact, I think it can have a lot of positives. One of the things I talked about is the need for fast tracking this entire cycle for manufacturing scalability, right? I think with the digital twin, with a lot of something like factory on a chip or those type of concepts, you can actually help fast tracking some of the innovation of technologies which can help. But again, as it is with any tool, obviously if nuclear energy, if used for electricity, it is a carbon-free energy, but if you are using it as a bomb, it is destructive. So a lot of the thing will depend on how as a tool we can use it. Any other quick views?
I think it's a great question, and I will answer in the two aspects. One is in the corporate world, definitely AI applicability to green financing, we are welcoming it with open heart. The reason is that it is helping us in actually targeting the right clientele. Our penetration ratio is quite high on that, and I would say it's cool for sure. It's definitely not a threat or otherwise. Rather, we were looking forward for that because more adaptive technology we use, as he rightly mentioned about even it's like a tool, right? But the more we get the clarity and more we can get to the rightful analytical models in place, the designing of the policies and the product becoming easier. In the second phase, at government level, I can tell you, already in PMO office, as per the mandate, AI is inbuilt now. Everything gets tracked by use of AI and machine learning, right? While making the policies or making the rightful decisions, whether the renewable energy should be the green pathway going forward or not. Like say, आताच example तुम्हाला देतो की हे बिल झालं ते नवीन सरकार आल्यानंतर झालं आणि you had the interim bill already. So interim bill to the actual budget, there were practically 4 months in place. So design that pathway for the 4 months. Actually, the Ministry of Finance has taken even the help of the AI and ML tool as it is. Related to sustainability, at the government level also, AI is in use beyond our imagination. Tech savviness, the actually implementation of the technology and the tool is been happening very aggressively at the central government of India, that's for sure. Nutshell, yes, AI is the way forward and we are welcoming with all open arms.
So in a minute I will say that any technology which is new always is good. In Lok Sabha, when government of India said 10 years back we will do digital payment, P. Chidambaram, if you see the video on YouTube, it is still there. He laughed at it. अरे इधर तो 65% लोग बिलो पॉवर्टी लाईन, इट विल बी अ बिग फेल्युअर. आज मुंबईमध्ये भिकारी पण स्कॅन कोड दाखवतो. So I will say that there are two things for any technology, any new advent. One is speed, another is direction. We have to select. Speed is dangerous. If it is in the right direction, we are going to achieve it. So we can use data analytics out of AI, and that will not be a threat to sustainability, in my opinion. Thank you.
Just 20 seconds.
Yeah, sure. No, actually there are two more questions आणि त्यासाठी दुसऱ्या पॅनल मधले जे मेंबर असतील ना त्यांना पण मी पुढे बोलवतो, म्हणजे त्यांनाही कुठलं आन्सर करायचं असेल एखादा क्वेश्चन करता येईल, एवढंच मला म्हणायचं.
So it's a very valid question, very open and practical. Energy neither can be destroyed, it only can be transferred from one form to the other. So I look at it AI as a very progressive development, and for the simple reason is it actually helping all of us to speed up certain things. Especially in my area, let's say, we are into the pharmaceutical research and development. So the things that we used to do over a period of 2 months, 2 years, now because of AI, it's actually happening within span of few days or few weeks. So we are saving a lot on other areas where the energy consumption any which ways would have been more. So we are compensating. So definitely AI, as you rightly asked, it's definitely going to be a future for us. And we have to map those gaps and address it.
Questions and then
yeah, there are very good points. Everybody made it. I'm in academia. I'm a research scientist and professor. My simple question for everybody: we talk of sustainability. What is we do at personal level? So I'll give one example. To think about sustainability, one thing. Because I'm bringing another topic, sustainability and mind health. That's a new area, a new term I will talk. Just will take a second.
sure.
Because last year I sat on that profile and said, what is my contribution to sustainability? As Samir, I'll take a step back this year, I will not do. And when I prove something, I'm sustainable living, then I'll come back and talk my examples. So what happened, everybody, as we growing, like every 5 years, our salary increase double. What we increase the number of bedroom or house or apartment. Can we think sometime that what is sustainable living for me? Do I 4 bedroom is good enough? 3 bedroom good enough? Because we have 3 or 4 people in every family. Do we think on that direction? Just the first example. In number of clothes, if I have 20 shirts and 20 pants, do I sustainable? What is sustainable amount for me? How much pant I should need or how much shoes I should need? Start with us. Can we think on that direction, starting from us, and make a culture? I don't know how many you know John Wick is the movie you watch it. Yeah. That hero is the biggest example of sustainable living in my world. In New York City, we are building that concept of sustainable living, minimum living, not minimum living. And we can do sustainable living also that way. So if we think in that direction and build a culture, because everybody here are respected in their position and their culture, their areas. And we can set up an example, hey, I'm living sustainable life, I have only 10 pants, 10 shirts, whatever example, X number, doesn't matter. But we should bring that cultural shift in our area and our community and might help to assess it.
Excellent. I think response आवश्यकच आहे असं नाहीये, पण हा इम्पॉर्टंट टॉपिक आहे आणि everybody will agree to that. That's what I see.
नमस्कार, मी मिलिंद पाटील मुंबईहून आहे. मेनली आम्ही ॲप्लिकेशन बेस्ड नॉलेजमध्येच गेली 20 वर्ष आहोत. गेले कित्येक दिवस एक प्रश्न म्हणजे 1-1.5-2 वर्ष झाले की जसं आता मगाशी म्हटलं की एनर्जी नायदर कॅन बी जनरेटेड, आपल्याला सगळ्यांनाच माहिती आहे, फक्त फॉर्म चेंज होतो. आणि आपण आता क्लीन एनर्जी, ग्रीन एनर्जीच्या याच्याखाली आपण कॉन्सन्ट्रेटर लावून सोलर एनर्जी गोळा करतोय. आता चीप आपण तिला म्हणतोय आणि त्या पद्धतीने आपण त्याचा वापरही वाढवत चालू आहे. आणि जसं आता यांनी मिनिमलिस्टिक लाईफवरती सांगितलं की कन्झम्पशनही त्याच्यामुळे वाढतंय प्रत्येक गोष्टीचं. तर त्या केसमध्ये ही एनर्जी याच पृथ्वीवरती वेगवेगळ्या फॉर्ममध्ये पुन्हा शिल्लक राहणार आहे. आणि आता आपण ती कॉन्सन्ट्रेटर लावून खेचतो आहोत, ॲक्च्युली ती नॅचरल वेने येत होती. तर हा प्रश्न सतत अस्वस्थ करतोय की हे असं का? कारण प्रत्येक गोष्ट आपण जमिनीखालनं पत्रे काढतोय, तेही हीट खेचतात आहेत. झाडांचं प्रमाणही आपण आता डिस्कस केलं जे व्यस्त आहे. तर त्याच्यावरती काही करता येईल तर ऑब्व्हियसली लाईफस्टाईलमध्ये आम्ही मिनिमलिस्टिक सांगितलं, पण दुसरं एक असं जाणवतं की आम्ही त्याच्यावरती आमच्या पद्धतीने एक विचार केला की थर्मल एनर्जी जी आहे याच्यामध्ये आम्हाला कळतं ओके. आणि मगाशी कोणतरी म्हणालं की भारतात, तुम्हीच म्हणालात की ती थोडीशी अनऑर्गनाइज पद्धतीने वापरली जाते, तर तो आम्ही एरिया आमच्यासाठी लोकेट केला आहे की थर्मल एनर्जी जी आहे तिची इफिशियन्सी वाढवायची, वेस्टेज सर्क्युलर इकॉनॉमी बायोफ्युएलमधनं तयार करायची, कार्बन इमिशन जे आहे ते कंट्रोल करायचं. आणि आज आम्हाला माहित नाही की ही सोलर एनर्जी आम्ही परत कशी वातावरणात पाठवू शकू, पण आमचा प्रयत्न राहील की ती परत पण पाठवायची वापर. सो दिस इज व्हॉट वी आर थिंकिंग. पण आपल्याला नुसते कॉन्सन्ट्रेटर नाही लावून चालणार, आपल्याला वापर कसा करायचा हेही शिकायला लागेल. कारण अदरवाईज ना हे कसं आहे, मी इमॅजिन करतो, आपण आज कौतुकाने सांगतोय की आपण इतक्या गिगाबाईटचे इतक्या याचे आपण जमा करतोय, आणि पण प्रत्येक लागणारा AC, प्रत्येक उभं राहणारा डेटा सेंटर ते आउटलेटला दुसरी एनर्जी तयार करत आहे आणि ती एनर्जी पुन्हा इथंच राहते. सो वी नीड टू थिंक ऑन दॅट ऑल्सो.
We need to, yeah. So I think we are coming to the end of this panel B here. There are a couple of activities. One is we will certainly have a group photo. So प्रथमजी तुम्ही पण शेअर घ्या. आणि मी फायनल ॲक्टिव्हिटी माझ्याकडून आणि गर्जे मराठी च्या वतीने अशी करू इच्छितो की मी थोडासा इमोशनल झालो या मोमेंटला, की जे आपण ठरवलं सगळ्यांनी ते कसं सगळ्यांसमोर येतं आहे आणि खूप कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन आपल्याला मिळतं आहे. आणि गर्जे मराठी ॲट सच इट्स फॉर क्वालिटी फर्स्ट अँड देन द क्वांटिटी. सो आपल्या रूममध्ये कदाचित कमी लोक असतील पण एनर्जी कमी नाही, आणि एनर्जी कमी नाही आणि सगळेजण कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट करतात, प्रत्येकाला ते रेझोनेट होत आहे. आय थिंक दॅट इज अ बिग थिंग. कारण तो रिप्रेझेंटेटिव्ह थॉट असेल तर तो प्रत्येकापर्यंत जातो, असा आपला प्रत्येकाचा अनुभव असतो. सो मी इमोशनल झालो या कारणामुळे की आपण एकदम कमी वेळामध्ये सगळ्या गोष्टी या घडून आणल्या आणि प्रत्येकाने ज्या पद्धतीने कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट केलं ते खूप इम्पॉर्टंट होतं. त्यातून खूप काही घेण्यासारखं आहे. आणि दोन मला समर्थांची वचनं आठवतात की समर्थ रामदासांची, की ती म्हणजे सामर्थ्य आहे चळवळीचे, जो जे करील तयार आहे, परंतु तेथे भगवंताचे अधिष्ठान पाहिजे. बरोबर. सो तिथे आपण आपल्या धर्माकडे पुन्हा एकदा येतो. धर्म आजचा विषय नाही, पण जो कुठला आपला बिलीफ सिस्टीम असेल सगळं आपल्या धर्मात वेलकम आहे. म्हणजे देवाला माना न माना काही प्रॉब्लेम नाही, पण कशाला तरी माना एवढंच आपण म्हणतोय, आणि कुणालाही माना हे पण म्हणतोय आपण, राईट. सो ते इम्पॉर्टंट आहे. सो चळवळ महत्वाची आहे आणि चळवळ आपण सगळ्यांनी करायची आहे आणि आणखीन लोकांना आपल्यामध्ये त्यामध्ये जोडायचे. मग ते AI मधले असतील किंवा क्लीनटेक आणि बाकीच्या टेक्नॉलॉजीज मधले असतील किंवा अगदी कोर इंडस्ट्रीमधले असतील, फायनान्समधले असतील, कुठलीही लोक असतील, ती सस्टेनेबिलिटीचीच लोक आहेत असं धरून आपण चालूया. सो देर इज नो डिफरन्स बिटवीन मेन स्टेज अँड ब्रेकआउट. दॅट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग. आणि लास्ट थॉट हाच आहे की जसं देवाचा उल्लेख झाला तर तो देव आपला असतो, आपण तो आपल्या घरातच ठेवतो, पण तो देव मस्तकी धरावा आणि अवघा हलकल्लोळ करावा ते म्हटलंय, समर्थांनी जे म्हटलंय ते आपण सर्वांनी पाळूया. आणि आपला अजेंडा इथे या ग्रहावरती येऊन आपल्या स्वतःच्या गोष्टी करून परत जाणे एवढा नाहीये. त्याच्या पलीकडे आपला पर्पज आहे आणि तो आपण पर्पज किती सक्सेसफुल करू त्यावरती प्लॅनेटची नव्हे तुमची आणि तुमच्या कुटुंबाची पण सस्टेनेबिलिटी अवलंबून आहे. कारण तुम्ही घरात काय आणायच्या गोष्टी तुम्ही आणू शकता, घराबाहेरची गोष्ट तुमच्या हातात नसते, ती ड्राईव्ह तुम्हाला करायची असते, त्याचा कलेक्टिव्ह इफर्ट सगळ्यांना मिळतो. हा एक लास्ट थॉट सगळ्यांबरोबर सोडून मी क्लोज करतो हे सेशन. थँक्यू सो मच. पर्सनली हॅपी अबाउट एव्हरीबडी हू हॅज जॉईन्ड. थँक्यू.
सांगायची गरजेची आहे आमच्या सगळ्यांच्या वतीनं की खूपच राणीमाशी असते आणि त्याच्यावरती पोळं होतं. आमच्या सगळ्यांचा राणीमाशी समीर कारण वेगवेगळ्या ऑड टायमाला सगळ्यांना एकत्र घेऊन इंजिन असेल तर बोग्या चालतील. त्यामुळे हे त्याची मॉडेस्टी आहे की त्यांनी एवढं विनम्रपणे केलंय. हो वेगवेगळ्या. आणि त्यांनी जे सांगितलं समर्थांचं तेच आहे की आपण श्वास घेतो श्वास सोडतो त्याच्यामधल्याला आयुष्य म्हणतात. तिथे मास बॅलन्स आहे, ते आपण केलंच पाहिजे.
And we always say that is the sustainability of this group remains because of the sustainable efforts बाय समीर.
सगळ्यांचं आहे, असं
या
नको.
या
खूप लहान आहे.
ग्रुप फोटोसाठी रेडी.
ग्रुप फोटो येस.
गुड.
थँक्यू सो मच. थँक्यू.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks to Pankaj. That's what I was about to say. कारण एक अतिशय कमी वेळात भरपूर धावपळ करून हे पूर्ण सेटअप करणं. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच. अप्रिशिएट युअर हेल्प.
सर प्रीतम हे बंद करा सगळं.
खूप छान.